All right, almost agreement time. It's fun. It's Legalese Day. We're going to speak in lawyer talk for a full hour. Our good friend Jamie's here. We're going to talk about some legal stuff going on. As you guys know, we've been exploring the election, the upcoming election, and all the millions of races on theirs. And we're in the joyous of the 8-year window where we have a bunch of judges on the docket. And if you guys heard the Dino Cole episode, that gives you a little insight. But somebody who's not running for the office to tell us a little bit more about what, at least his experience with some of the judges around town are. So we're almost in agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to our website, almostinagreement.com. You can go there and get my job description sheet as well as my 22 voter guide. That 22 voter guide is a real quick rundown. All the candidates, if I've done a show with them, it's got a link to the show, a link to their website if they have one, a link to KGIS and Knox County Election Commission so you can figure out where you vote, what districts you're in, stuff like that, so you know who and what's going on around you. Go to your favorite podcast provider, give us a like, share, follow, tell your friends about us, get the word out. We're going to keep pushing through this. We're trying to get a Lamar Alexander episode in. That'll be fun, but that's a whole separate conversation for later. So we're almost in agreement. Lawyer Jamie is in the house.
What up?
And we're going to talk about lawyery stuffish. Jamie, sir, how are you?
I'm well. Judge is on the docket. I see what you did there. Bravo.
Yeah, I wish I was smart enough to have done it on purpose. But,
it still works.
It does work. Okay, so I don't know. So Sam's here too. Everybody say hi, Sam.
Boom. Hey.
So we did. I'm not really trying too hard on the judge races because as of last time I looked, which I started to pull up before we started. There's only like 2 races that have any challengers. And so I guess for me, because just trying to understand what the different courts do as a court, and then we can talk about what the judges can do inside that court. So we have circuit court. No. We've got general sessions.
Circuit court,
criminal court, juvenile court,
chancery court,
all on this ballot. All right, so where do you want to start? Which one? Because again, for people that listen regularly, we had Dino on, and he walked us through some of what goes on in the chancery court and what he would be doing as a chancery judge. But yeah, okay, so general sessions court, what goes on there generally?
You are on a roll.
I am full of the bad jokes, people.
You're like ham. You're on a roll tonight, sir. So general sessions court. So when I'm not living in federal court, where I live is general sessions court. I had a trial just last week. So general sessions court, that is going to be outside the criminal realm, which they do, which is not an area for me. But on the civil side, you're going to get a lot of your landlord-tenant cases there. You're going to get your debtor-creditor cases are going to be there. Your contract cases. Sometimes you're going to get car wreck cases, if it's a minor slip and fall, those sorts of things. So general sessions has kind of a wide variety of things. It's quite the smorgasbord, just depending on what sort of cases.
And again, for my bad joke's sake, general sessions court generally doesn't have juries.
No, there are no juries in general sessions court. At least I've never seen one. I'm not sure there's a rule against it, but there may be. But yes, you're talking about the judge is going to be making the ruling.
Okay. And because when I had Dino on, I text you saying to give me a primer on it, and my analogy for chancery court was kind of like Judge Judy, but more realistically, general sessions is more like Judge Judy. I know it's not legally the same because she's an arbiter, not a actual judge, because of the way the TV show bullshit works. But the idea is that the 2 parties come up, state their case, the judge says A, B, C, go. There is no jury part of the action. That part is where the analogy to Judge Judy for me comes from.
Correct analogy.
Okay. All right. So that's general sessions.
Correct.
So criminal court, we got juries. That's going to go with more criminal charges, obviously, as in, murders and rapes and thefts and the like.
Correct. That is not a court that I find myself in, either as a practitioner or as a defendant.
Okay. I should have talked more about
excellent stipulation there. neither as a defendant as well.
Right, I stipulate that on the record. One note.
Let the record show.
Exactly. One note set before we leave general sessions court is it's basically the equivalent of small claims court for the civil side. Maximum jurisdiction of $25,000. So if you got more than $25,000 in controversy, you're going upstairs.
And upstairs would be
either circuit or chancery.
Okay. So what is so it seems to be like the bigger, like where's circuit come into the circle here?
Circuit, that's where you're going to have a lot of your, what are, if you can't put an exact number on your damages, like a contract, you can sort of put a number on that, or divorce. You can sort of put a number that has sort of something to do with life as we know it. Whereas circuit court, it's got a lot of these cases like your personal injury cases, and that is where you're going to have a jury. And if you get your case to a jury that within the limits set by the General Assembly, they can sort of give you whatever they think. It's not a formula. Whereas,
Okay, so that's where the jury comes back and says $1 billion. And nobody asked for that in the first place, but that's what the jury decided upon because of the preponderance of evidence in their case.
Right, and then the judge will say, nope, sorry, that's not allowed, and we'll remit it down to whatever the highest amount is.
Okay. So, all right. So then that covers generally the Cliff Notes version of what the different courts do. Obviously, juvenile court does kids versions of only criminal matters, I would assume. Like, there's no juvenile civil court.
Well, juvenile civil court, I practiced very briefly in juvenile court back years ago, and you're usually dealing with like child support issues,
right? And that should generally go to Chancery Court.
No. If it's dealing with it, like if we're talking about a situation where the divorce is gone, there's no pending divorce or anything. If you're talking about an issue of future child support, it's going to go to juvenile court. So you're only going to be in Chancery Court if there's like a pending divorce ongoing. Okay,
then I might have been confused on that because the way Gino described it to me was like, let's say we got divorced and had a kid, and like 3-4 years after the divorce, we want to change custody arrangement. And which I would assume
correct. You can that can be reopened and changed. That's correct. And I will, since it's been a long time since I practiced in juvenile court, I could be a little bit rusty on that.
Right, so hold on. Let's we screwed up. We need to start over. We start over. Jamie is a lawyer, and we'll speak in lawyer terms. And so, what's the correct phrasing here of do not take his statements as fact, but as a general idea of, but consult your own attorney if you have any real questions.
I'm not giving legal advice here. I'm giving you general procedures and general ideas about certain courts, etc.
Summation.
Right.
Summation. I'm not quoting chapter and verse tonight.
Okay, so that brings a tangent to my brain, but I'll hold off on that. Okay, so for me, and I a thought had crossed my mind when thinking about this earlier this week, actually, is like, again, and on the principle of, yes, it's in our county charter, or if it's in the state constitution or whatever, I understand why we vote for judges, but it almost doesn't make sense to me. Like, I almost feel like these judges should be appointments.
Well, there's certainly an argument for that. As I'm sure our listeners recall, I practice mostly in federal court, and those are appointed judges. There, we have what are called Article 3 judges, meaning that they are nominated by the president, and then with the advice and consent of the Senate, if they are confirmed, then they become a federal district court judge, and then they have their magistrate judges they're chosen by the district judges. Lifetime appointments, and they are not beholden to the electorate like our state judges are. So,
right.
Don't know whether it's good or bad to do it one way or the other. I think there's arguments on both sides. But
I mean, just to me, it's like because again, going on my general issue as a constituent at large, trying to figure out what the job actually is. So we were talking before we got started. I had Sherry Witt yesterday, right? And my assumption going into it, and from reading up on it, of what the county clerk's job is versus what the county clerk's office does, are not the same thing. Her job is to make sure what the office is required to do gets done. But so she's not in there, the lazy joke is she's not in there, selling license plates or taking driver's license photos for people. She's in the big office, hiring and firing and setting base policy and stuff like that. And I would argue that most people don't know that. I would argue that most people don't know the general coverage of what the clerk's office does unless they've dealt with that directly.
True.
Like, I know I go to the clerk's office for my license plate. I know I went there for my marriage license. I know I went there for my driver's license. I went there for my carry permit, which I didn't need, but I got it right before, but I'm planning on getting it anyway, because at some point I'm probably going to leave the state with it, and other states require it, and reciprocity and all that shit. Anyway, I think the judges specifically are even a further step removed from a lay person having any fucking clue what they can and can't do in the job, what they can and can't campaign on, what they can't, like, what difference does it really make from person A to person B? It's, it's the legal system, everything's, what's the redo word? I just blanked out on it. You can appeal, like there's appeals processes for everything. There's, I mean, it's supposed to be a system that has a bunch of backstops built in so that one person can't be a fuckbag and ruin it for everybody. That's the idea, you know, is that, and because some, like that, again, that's what Dino's saying, there's some stuff that that gets kicked into Chancery Court kind of as an appeals thing. He can't remember exactly the specific of how he said it, but it was kind of part of some process to something happens over here and there's a question about it, it could come into this court to get looked at by another fresh set of eyes.
Well, one instance when that can happen, along with circuit court, is if you have a general sessions court case, and let's say you lose, and you're not real happy about the fact you lost, you get an appeal, and you can go to circuit. I believe you can also go to chancery. I always go to circuit, just as a matter of course, and then you get to have your trial all over again, like it never happened.
Right. Right, and so like again, like, but to go to the base idea that I'm working with here is like, most people don't understand this shit. Like, I don't. Oh,
I would agree with that. That's why we lawyers are here,
right? But it's like, why do like, I don't know. Again, like I just feel like the responsibility doesn't make sense to me to have this as an elected position.
I mean, in a sense, it doesn't, because you know you obviously want a qualified individual, but I think the pushback on that, or the counter to that, is that you want a judge who has to stand for election every 8 years, because if they're doing a bad job,
right? I agree that the lifetime is an issue.
True,
but I think, you know, like, because I mean, you could run for judge right now. You are technically within the rules of, you have the required set of qualifications. Apparently, Tennessee is one of the shortest. The shortest amount of time you have to have your license before you can actually run for judge. It's only like a year. Most states it's like 5 or something like that.
Yeah, I know it's fairly short, but I'm not aware of what it is.
But anyway, so like again, so we keep talking about Dino because he's the only one I've talked to so far, like, but at the end of the day, what could you do differently than he could do in that judge seat?
Nothing.
That's the problem. Like, that's what I
mean. There are judicial philosophies. I mean, we hear about that all the time in the news, for better or worse. You know, this judge is more conservative, or this judge is more liberal. There may be judicial philosophies, but there...
I mean, I can get that. On the federal level, on the Supreme Court level, that makes sense, where that philosophy has a true impact in the decision.
It does in trial courts, too, whether it's federal or state. But at the end of the day, it's still the same statutes, it's still the same common law, it's still the same procedures. Now, every judge may interpret it a little bit differently, but the fact of the matter is, we're all playing under the same rules. We just may view the way that the rules apply a little bit differently. That's really the crux.
Right, but up into Supreme Court, there is some measure of, you're not allowed to be the only person to interpret it this way, because I'm going to ask somebody else and they're going to say something different, and then we got to go through a bunch of process.
Right. The hoity-toity, snotty-ass legal term is stare decisis, and that means it's been decided. So if there is an issue that is on point at your, you know, let's say your circuit court or your chancery court, and it's been decided by the Tennessee Supreme Court, this is what the law is, the judge has to follow it. Now, the judge can say, well, I don't think that this case technically applies because the facts are a little bit different, so I'm going to decide it this way. But the fact of the matter is, if the judge determines that the facts are the same or substantially similar as to what the Tennessee Supreme Court case was back at whatever point, and it's not been overturned, you got to follow it. It doesn't matter whether you got an R or a D or an I in front of your name.
Right. Right. Because again, that's like, I am generally the fan of voting for everybody. We could vote for street sweepers, and I'd be happy about it.
Fantastic.
But like, just like this one especially,
I got the best broom.
Right. See, it's technique, really, is what it is. It's not. It doesn't matter what kind of broom it is.
It's all in the hips.
It's hips and shoulders. That's what you got to work with.
True statement.
But anyway, but my point being is like with a significantly undereducated populace on how things work, and what seems to me a very small window of discretion inside the job, what are we really voting on? Like, to me, it makes sense to have like a significantly higher bar to enter, and you know, since we're running puns tonight, you know, like having a significant amount of time practicing in the state of Tennessee, so you're familiar with Tennessee state law and all that kind of stuff, would make more sense to me than having us vote on it. It seems...
I agree, and I think, you know, there's this common notion in the law, or at least amongst lawyers, and this used to frustrate me when I was a young lawyer. Now I think it's fantastic because I'm old. But really, in the legal field, most lawyers, until you've had 10 years of experience you're kind of looked at as, you're not really seasoned enough to, be handling the big stuff, so to speak. So for me, I think that, in this, again, my opinion alone, is that unless you've got 10 years of relevant experience, and I think for a state court judge, that means practicing in state court, as opposed to, I wouldn't feel very qualified because, other than General Sessions Court, I handle so few things state court. Federal court, perhaps, but I don't swim in that pond. But unless you've got that much relevant experience, I think it's going to be tough for you to do a great job. Now, there are exceptions. I mean, we've got great judges out there who have less experience, and you have to go to judge school. When you get elected, you don't just get elected and then all of a sudden, here's your gavel, have a nice time. You do have to go to judge school where they teach you how to be a judge. Now, what's involved in that, I don't know exactly, but I know it exists.
Yeah, I didn't know that it even existed. That's an interesting little tidbit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. That's why we have here, is for things like this. And, drinking stuff.
I just paid for my whiskey.
That's right. Because I'm getting billed for this in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, because I know there's I guess technically you fall under the code of ethics about how you can't really talk shit or good or bad about people.
I probably wouldn't anyway.
But I don't know. There's only 3 names that I recognize on the list of judges. One was what's his face that used to be Bud Armstrong, that used to be the county law director.
Oh, okay, Bud. So what's he running for?
Chancellor Part 2.
Okay,
same one as Dino. And then Pridemore is the current. He's the incumbent. He's running again too. He said that's. I mean, okay. So here, let me do the up to date one off the computer instead of doing the old printed one that I have.
Yeah, I've never appeared in front of Pridemore. I know that there was some, I wouldn't call it controversy, but some eyebrows raised back in 2014 when he ran, because I think to your point, he had very little experience.
Right. He only had
I don't
practice that. He only had his license for a year and a half. But barely even practiced in that period.
Okay.
So he had his license, but he wasn't actually out practicing.
I've never
appeared in cases. That was my understanding of it, at least.
Gotcha. I've never appeared in front of him, and I'm sure he's perfectly competent. But I do remember that there was some stir about the fact that he was pretty young in the practice when he was elected.
Right, because I was thinking earlier in my head, it's maybe we should spend a chunk of this episode getting you to help me craft our disclaimer to put at the end of the episode to make sure we don't get sued. This is not a journalistic outfit. We're just people talking, so don't treat us like fucking journalists and shit.
I would have to charge you for that.
I know. That's why I stopped myself. I thought I was going to do an error. So, but let's see here.
I do have to say I was very disappointed. Well, I was happy for, but I was disappointed when Christy Davis was elevated up to the Court of Appeals. She was one of the judges I really did enjoy appearing in front of in state court, and did so on several occasions.
And that's who
she just took over the Tennessee Supreme Court? Just got appointed?
I don't think she's on Supreme Court yet. I think she's still at the Court of Appeals, unless I missed something. I know.
I can't remember this woman's name that just got appointed to the Supreme Court.
There's another whose name escapes me at the moment. I saw it in our bar journal.
And she got replaced with Judd Davis. Was she the one that was appointed?
I don't recall.
Judd Davis was appointed her replacement.
May have been.
Because there was a little bit of hullabaloo, at least in the political talkings about that, because Sarah Keith and Judd Davis are both in the DA's office, and they both were planning on running for judges this time around anyway.
Judge Davis, I believe, worked for one of the medium-sized private law firms.
Maybe I'm conflating stories, because I remember something about that seat, that judgeship being appointed was a big deal because it was going to be one that was sought after, and some of the DA's in-house rules of the DA's assistant attorneys and what they can and can't do and keep the job.
I think that must be different judges. Yeah,
but it's also that whole thing. I mean, this is a normalcy thing in politics anyway. You step down knowing you're going to retire so that the appointment can be replace you,
right?
And then that appointment gets to run as an incumbent. And since people are lazy, they vote for incumbents. And so it's just one of those political moves that was going on there. And again, I might be conflating names, but So
are all, and you're more informed about this than am I, for better or worse, probably for better. Are all of the General Sessions, Chancery Circuit, are they all up for election this year?
Yes.
Gotcha.
No. Yes. Okay. Let's see.
Yes or no?
I don't know. I don't know how many there are.
Very definite, maybe.
Circuit Court 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
For District 6 are on the ballot.
Okay.
I don't know how many divisions there are. I'm assuming that there's only 4.
I know there's 3 civil, and I don't practice in criminal, so I don't know.
Okay, so there's 4 Circuit Court judges, because it's State District 6, which is all of Knox County. but Division 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Circuit Court. Chancellor Part 1, 2, and 3.
Right, okay. Correct.
And only 2 is contested.
Okay.
Criminal Court, Division 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
None of which are contested. They're all running unopposed.
Sessions Court, too.
Sessions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
1 and 2 are contested.
What's your 1 and 2?
What do you mean?
Like, who's the incumbent on 1 and 2?
I don't know. Chuck Kearney.
It's Chuck Cerny.
Yeah, because Sarah Keith is. I know Sarah Keith came out of the DA's office.
I don't know her.
And I'm curious how this works. I meant to email Chris Davis about it, because if you see here, Sarah Keith is running for both Division 1 and Division 2.
Oh, okay.
For a general sessions judge. And I didn't know you were allowed to run for multiple seats at the same time.
I was aware of that. Who's the incumbent in 2?
It's either Davis or Frankenberg. But I think that's what I'm saying. I thought Davis was the one that got appointed to cover that seat just a couple months ago.
I don't know, maybe. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, and then Patricia Long in 3, Andrew Jackson the 6th in 4, and Tony Stansberry in 5.
Did Emery step down, or is that who got replaced? Judge Jeff Emery?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, this is about as foreign like this.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No,
I'm trying really hard, and this is deeper than I can handle.
I know I tried a couple cases in front of Emery. I think it was last year, but I haven't seen him in a little bit, so that may make sense.
And then Tim Irwin is running for juvenile court unopposed.
Yeah, Irwin's been there for a while.
Right. And then the circuit civil and juvenile court all share one clerk. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
And then there's a criminal court clerk, and that's Mike Hammond, who's been there before.
Yep.
He's running unopposed, and then that's all of the...
He's a former county commissioner, I believe.
Who's that? Mike Hammond?
Mike Hammond, yeah, I believe.
I know he's currently in the clerk's office, in the criminal court.
I believe he's either city or county council.
And so, okay, this is one you've dealt with. You've dealt with the court clerk's offices, right? You have to go on there and do paperwork and shit.
Sometimes.
So again, this is another position, same kind of conversation we're having on the judges. Like, how much discretion in that job is there?
I have no idea.
I assume it's there is a process for where you can go and request information or paperwork or transcripts of a trial or whatever, and that's his job, is to get the paperwork from court, whether it's evidentiary or transcripts or whatever the kind of shit is, and file it neatly, and then be able to access it when asked.
I mean, they're the custodian of the records, for each case file, and then of course, I don't know whether they set the amount of fees or if they just administer whatever the filing fees and the court fees and whatnot there are. And of course, that's where you go and file the stuff, and they stamp it and give the sheriff's office if it's going out for a process that way, or give it back to you if you're serving by private process. But beyond that, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge. What else I do?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's another one of those jobs that I really assume. Because, to me, I think the trustee's office, I think the county clerk's office, I think the register of deeds, I think the 2 different court clerk offices that we have is a very tiny window and a very tiny, well-defined window of how the job works. And that these elected bodies that go in there, I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not even saying that it's not necessarily important that we vote for them. It's one of those, trying to understand how to vote for somebody to do the job. Because, the example being, we've got Charlie Susano and Dana Moran running for the circuit civil juvenile court clerk position. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. How is a Republican going to work that office differently than a Democrat? What about the Republican platform makes a good goddamn difference what they can do, not what they want to do, but what they can do inside the confines of the job?
Probably not much.
That's and for me and you for that matter, who gets to go out there and vote for these people, how do we make a decision on who's better for the job? I hate girls, so I'm not voting for Dana.
That's rude.
I'm just saying, what else? What else am I supposed to base my decision off of? She's gonna have her monthly and start tearing up paperwork because she's pissed off at people and it's hot in the room.
Is your wife here?
What?
Yeah.
Ouch. I mean, I think that the idea is that you vote
this
for...
is the part where I need to make sure my disclaimer is correct. This is an entertainment show.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
this is definitely entertainment. I don't know if it's much beyond that, but I think the idea behind it, whether that's true or not, is you are supposed to elect the most competent person in your opinion. How you form that opinion is, I guess, limited.
Apparently mine is very limited.
Mine is very limited as well, and I deal with these folks a little bit.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's like
there's your two examples. Are they running as a Republican and as a Democrat? Will an R and a D? I mean, be on their name next to the ballot, or
they put their affiliation. It is a partisan race.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, they don't. You don't get the dominant. Like you're not allowed to put that on there if it's not.
I guess the reason you do that in Knox County is to determine whether you win or lose.
Right. Like I wanted to lose, but I wanted to run, so I put it. I ran as a Democrat. Right.
Looks like you'll be successfully unsuccessful.
Right. And again, it's like my whole sexist rant there a second ago aside. It's like I don't understand what the job is to make the decision off of. I also assume that the job is very narrow and well defined. So what can the difference in these two people do?
I mean, I don't know of a whole lot that would differentiate aside from just simple competence and being good with people and a good administrator. I don't really know what else there would be because again, what their duties are very clearly defined in the statute, what they can and can't do.
Because furthermore, I would probably assume that this is similar to the county clerk, where they're not actually doing the legwork of the job. There's a whole staff of people that have been there before their election that have been doing this, and nothing necessarily changes.
I don't recall a time when I've gone to file something over in Sessions Court that Mr. Susano actually took the document and stamped it and gave it to me. They're very nice people over there, but I don't think I've ever seen him.
Right. And so again, like I don't know, maybe I'm not being as clear with the point I'm trying to get across as I could, but it's just what I want to understand and what I want to try to figure out how to articulate to others is what the job is, so that we can then look at people running on who we think is more capable of the actual job. Because again, I think this one specifically, they're not doing that. They're not stamping the paperwork and putting them in a filing cabinet. They're overseeing the staff. They're hiring and firing people.
They're a manager. I mean, for me, I would look at who. What is their background experience? I mean, have they been a manager before? Do they have, the education, maybe an MBA or something like that? And, have they successfully managed employees before? Have they successfully implemented policies before such that they will succeed and the office will succeed more so with this person than with other person? I mean, that's what my thought would be.
Right, because I got the argument with somebody on Facebook, which I know is stupid, I do it all the time, that... they don't necessarily need to know how to do the job. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they don't necessarily need to know how to stamp and file things. They need to know how to manage people that can stamp and file things. And I think that's one of the misnumbered things that gets me in trouble in arguments. Like, you can be a good manager and not know how to do the base job. It's a fact. There are plenty of them out there. You can know how to motivate people and hire smart people that are capable of doing what needs to be done, even if you are incapable of doing the actual thing yourself.
Do we vote for dog catcher?
Do I?
Do we?
It's Sheriff Spangler.
Oh, has he caught dogs?
I mean, he's got a whole kennel full. Plus, the sheriff's office oversees the animal control.
Well, I guess he's qualified.
I'm just saying.
I'm just asking.
I don't know. I'm missing the joke.
Right over my head. It's okay.
Okay.
Not all my jokes are good.
I mean, not all good jokes land on me well, so it doesn't mean it's your fault either.
I mean, my thought on the clerk. I mean, I know there's not many things they're not going to stamp, but they are kind of managing people that have that rubber stamp with their signature on it, that are officiating things that are signed off for by the county clerk.
I will tell you a story. I'm not going to name names. It was not Knox County. It was one of our more rural counties, but I won't name names. But a few years ago... Don't try to get me in trouble. I'm not going to admit to anything, but this was years ago.
Many moons
ago.
Check.
And I wasn't there, so disclaimer. Again, lots of disclaimers. My law clerk...
Is this hearsay?
Probably.
Okay.
Actually, yes, it is. Hey, good one. I like that. So years ago, my law clerk went to file something in I believe it was General Sessions Court, if I recall correctly, and they wouldn't take it. They said that it was improper. And I found that to be so bizarre because as a clerk, you're supposed to take it anyway, and then we can argue later with the court about whether it's improper or not. I argued, of course, that it was proper, otherwise I wouldn't have tried to file it. But the clerk just wouldn't take it. So the law clerk allegedly talked to the actual clerk, not the assistant clerk who actually does the stamping at the window. And the clerk's like, no, we're not taking that. And I found it to be so bizarre. I'm like, by statute, my understanding is you have to take it.
Right.
So that's one very narrow and the only.
Did you try to file a box of shit? Is that what was going on? Was it a bad joke that was happening?
It had a bow on it.
I mean,
what's the problem?
I know. I'm not trying. I mean, again, it's hearsay anyway. So
yeah, I mean, I think what I recall correctly, if I recall correctly, is I believe the argument was that you can't file this without a certain bond, like a certain amount of money that goes along with it. But there was an argument to be made that under whatever the circumstance, again, this was years ago, so I'm a little vague on whatever the circumstances were, there was an exception to where you didn't have to pay the fee. So what I wanted was, we'll go ahead and file it. We're not saying that it is operative. We're not saying that it's in effect. You're just filing it so we can later get a hearing with the court to determine whether it's acceptable or not.
Hold on to this for me, and we'll figure out if we need to.
Correct, but she wouldn't even take it, which was just very bizarre, and I don't think consistent with the law.
Yeah, she's probably busy.
Maybe that's true.
Maybe had something going on that day.
I think it was turkey hunting season.
My rubber stamping hand was getting worn out.
Carpal tunnel.
It's not even rubber stamps anymore.
I just can't do one more drop of the stamp.
That's another court that you forgot, but it's not really relevant because I don't think we vote on these judges. But workers' compensation, you used to be able to. Those cases would be heard in Chancery Court. Then after the amendments in 2014, there was a whole different court for workers' compensation claims. But I think those folks are appointed, if I recall correctly.
Is family court totally separate from all the...
Chancery does most of the family court.
Well, here in Knox County, they call it Fourth Circuit. It's the fourth division, I guess, of the circuit court. That they do a lot of it, and then the Chancery does some of it, and then, of course, juvenile. To your point from earlier about juvenile court, one instance, for example, where I was in juvenile court, well, I was in juvenile court, I was representing someone in juvenile court, is the couple at issue had 2 children, and they had never been married. So they had never agreed on a parenting plan or custody of the children or child support or anything. So there was never a divorce. So there was no way for them to go out either to Chancery or to Fourth Circuit. And since it dealt with children, the juvenile court had jurisdiction over that. So if it's really not having to do with either a currently being dissolved or formerly dissolved marriage, if it's just having to do with the children, you're going to be in juvenile court. That's probably a better explanation of it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And criminal stuff that involves kids.
I think that's right.
So
I've never done criminal law in my life, but I think that's right.
But I would like to, well, if they don't decide to try the kid as an adult, but like there's like a 16-year-old that got arrested for the shooting up in Northeast Knoxville earlier this week, I think. I would assume that his case is going to go into juvenile court unless he gets kicked up to adultness and then you go to criminal. That'd be my assumption.
It would be my assumption, but it's an assumption.
Right. Okay, so, right, we wanted to talk about this for sure when we were talking a couple weeks ago, because we were supposed to do this, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and then
week.
Yeah, we were supposed to do it a few weeks ago, and then I came down with the COVID.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
apparently everybody is going to get it at some point.
I guess.
So far, dodging bullets over here. I don't think so, but
you're lucky, man.
I guess. But then, because we had a couple of big Supreme Court cases that went through, I guess since last time we talked, but the more recent ones, there's the Biden vaccine employers of over 100 plus vaccine got kicked.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me in the least.
I think it's interesting that you have because essentially you had the same thing going on, but if you work in healthcare, that one didn't get kicked out. But any non-healthcare private employer of over 100 can't obligate the vaccine.
Yeah, I've not read the opinion on that, but what that should have been if it was done correctly, so to speak, is Congress should have done that. I mean, it's sort of like, all of our federal civil rights statutes like Title VII, the Family and Medical Leave Act, etc. Congress, as long as you're dealing with interstate commerce, the Congress can say, well, if you have 100 employees, you have to vaccinate. And there really would not, and the president signed it, of course, there really would not have been an argument. But doing it by executive action, that was a problem from day one.
Right. Because that goes into my complaints about what constitutes interstate commerce, which is
everything.
Right. It's more or less impossible to not, and so then it would obviously have to apply.
Not with the internet these days. It pretty much everything is interstate commerce.
Right. Which, yeah.
But you just can't do that stuff by executive action. I mean, there is a separation of powers for a reason, and sometimes presidents, regardless of party, forget about that and just try to do everything by executive action. And it's just this time he got his hand slapped, and it should have. Yeah.
Because I think I agree. I think it's one of the weird things. Because one of the other ones that we talked about last time that I want to talk about this time is the abortion stuff, specifically the one that happened through Texas. And then what was the other one? There was Oklahoma or something like that did one too?
Mississippi,
yeah. Yeah, and so, but it's just one of those, it's like, why can't we get this to be a written law instead of an opinionated law system?
Because Congress doesn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
And I mean, that's what bothers me about the conversation. Like, I get it. I understand that the whole conversation in and of itself, especially if you're in politics, you want to stay off of. But you want to run on it, depending on which team you're on. True. You're going to run on your stance on it because that'll get you votes.
True. Congress, as long as they didn't exceed, constitutional authority as interpreted by the current Supreme Court, could legislate that all day long. But they're not going to touch it. Why would they want to touch it?
Because then it would, stop having everything be this long process of kicking its way all the way up to the Supreme Court and then back down and then sideways and all the bullshit that goes on every time we have some state try their hand at some new, significantly more oppressive version of control.
True.
And then it goes through this whole thing every fucking time. And, apparently Texas got pretty creative and they got a little further with keeping theirs alive than most.
Theirs is very creative. That one kind of surprised me a little bit. I know that the court's got a very strong 6-3 tilt, but the sort of lawful vigilantism that comes with the Texas law is it's crazy.
Gross. Yeah, that's specifically about that one I didn't like. It's like hey, bonus if you rat your neighbor out.
Right.
Which I am a big, I'm bigly against the idea of, deputizing the public against their neighbors. I don't like that thing. I bitched a whole fit because, what was it, Loudoun County we were talking about last week? Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, they acknowledge it. They stole it from a North Carolina Sheriff's Office, but there's this whole big post that it's like a Valentine's Day special from a hotel is what they're selling it as. But it's really, if you're ex, that go out and have a great Valentine's Day with your new partner. But if you're mad at your ex and they carry drugs with them when they drive around town or they have a warrant, you should call them. You should call us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
You pull it up?
You added a little bit to that. It wasn't anything about if you're with your new love and you're jilted against your ex-love.
I'm sorry.
It did say.
You're right. Clear out that part of it. Let's just let me quote it better. If you're mad at your ex, regardless of your current situation.
Yes.
And if you're so mad at your ex and they carry drugs or they have a warrant out, give us a call. We'll go give them a great night stay and a meal and all the nice things that we can provide.
If they fucked you, time to fuck them back.
Right.
Nice.
Essentially, yeah.
And I thought that was gross.
That's pretty bad, actually.
I credited them for at least, saying that, like, we didn't make this up. Hey,
right. They
we got them somewhere else.
To the North Carolina Sheriff's Office that originated it.
We're not that clever. We actually
probably not
got
the first that did it either, but...
We're not that clever, but we think they're brilliant.
Yeah. That was pretty funny, man. We're going to share this.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need to really put some thought into it because that's one of the things I struggle with because I don't...
Again, I don't think that's a clever way, anything outside of Crime Stoppers.
I don't like the idea. Like, I don't like the idea of the us and them mentality that is the way the world we live in between the general populace and the police. Maybe not 100% of the populace, but there's a significant amount of an us and them feel to the relationship between police and the general public. I don't like that, but I also don't like the idea of the police, deputizing everybody against. I don't like the idea of the police incentivizing the public to start an infight. I don't know. It's like I said. It's
how is that starting an infight?
Rat out your neighbor. Rat out your ex. That is like it's turning again. Like I said from the beginning, like it's a little bit weird, and I need to put some thought into it. I don't like the us and them, but if us is the non-police and them is the police, I really don't like that the them police are trying to turn us against ourselves.
And I think most of that was
us to rat our friends out.
Was if you know that your ex has, I think it started out basically like if you have an ex that has a warrant out for their arrest,
or travels around town with drugs,
or yes, and there was also that. Yes.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
the gist of the post, and I think it's disgusting. I think it's gross.
I'm sorry.
It's because you're so romantic.
Yes, that's right. You should send flowers to your ex, even though you hate him.
Sorry, it sounded like you were phrasing it as like ratting out your neighbors, but this is.
I mean,
you would have to know that person, assumingly relatively well, to know that they have a warrant out for their arrest.
We can look up the etymology of neighbor. I don't know that neighbor, by definition, means the person right next to you. I'm just saying the idea of neighbor being the broad group of people that you associate with on a regular basis, your peer group, maybe might have been a better word. I apologize.
All right. I'm glad
I don't think the Bible said love your peer group as yourself. Casual observation.
Well, I mean, we're talking law, so the Bible doesn't apply.
Oh, it depends on who you ask.
I mean, yes, it does. And I mean, that does come into where some of the actual decision making on, I think, where some general populace could potentially have some, has or does have some input on judges and the early thought process of, well, he's a good Christian guy, he's going to be a great judge. It's like, well, he might be a good Christian guy. That might not disqualify him from being a great judge, but it certainly doesn't make him one.
There probably are some good judges out there who are Satanists. I don't know any off the top of my head, but I wouldn't, just say, for example, because you're a Satanist, you're a terrible judge. I mean, if you follow the Constitution and statutes and stuff, you could be fine.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I'm saying, like, it doesn't negate the ability or not. So, anyway, all right, that's all I specifically had. What else you got?
Is that all you got?
You got any questions for the lawyer since he's here?
Well, I've always been kind of confused, I guess, as, I don't know if it's necessarily called the supremacy clause, but when national federal courts overrule, or federal courts, national courts, whatever.
Federal courts.
Then supersede state laws, but then there's also cases where state law is able to kind of overrule federal laws.
Okay, I think, let's see if I can parse through that a little bit. I think you may be talking about 11th Amendment issues, and that is, unless the federal government has specifically reserved the right to itself, the states can do whatever they want. So the states can't go against, the federal law. Okay. But state law can be, more protective. I'll give you an example.
So is it the 10th or 11th? I thought it was 10th that said that if it wasn't in the Constitution.
Don't question the lawyer.
Maybe the 10th. I don't remember.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't practice constitutional law. I'm not a constitutional scholar. Sorry. So let me tell you about something I do know about. Let's try that. So, for example, let's use Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So you cannot discriminate against someone on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Now, that law obviously protects those categories of citizens. Now, in Tennessee, we have the Tennessee Human Rights Act. And that not only protects on the basis of race, religion, color, sex, and national origin, but also on the basis of creed, in addition. So, because we are the state, we can add more protection than what the federal law provides for. So we couldn't provide less. We couldn't say, well, we're not gonna protect you on the basis of sex, so that just doesn't apply in Tennessee. Well, no, federal law, assuming it's within the confines, as long as you meet the criteria, you are still going to be protected on the basis of sex and employment if you have at least 15 employees in the state of Tennessee. It doesn't matter what the state of Tennessee thinks. That makes sense. So creed is just that's an add-on. Federal government didn't protect that, but under again the idea of supremacy, the federal courts are going to say, well, we don't care. The federal government's going to say, we don't care. If you want to protect an additional class of persons, go for it.
Right, but it doesn't disqualify the additional claim or the additional protection.
Correct.
It just doesn't negate it.
Correct.
It's on top of them.
Right. And in that circumstance, if you are, see, it's the 10th Amendment, not the 11th. Busted, burnt. I guess I don't have to go back and take constitutional law again. So, but
it's okay, buddy.
But here's
it's one that's important to me, and that's the only reason I know it.
There you go.
Because ask me what the 7th is.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
I keep meaning to find like one of those little tiny like pocket constitutions.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
So to wax poetic on that, but in the case of, let's say, if you were to bring a cause of action because you think you've been discriminated against based on your creed, you could not bring that unless you have some other claims. You couldn't bring that in federal court because that's a state law. You're going to have to bring it in state court. So, and if you didn't like what, for example, the Tennessee, going back to it, circuit court ruled on that, you couldn't appeal that to the federal 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. It'd have to go to the Tennessee Court of Appeals.
Okay.
Right, so
I guess a lot of times it kind of depends on the case.
The 11th prohibits federal courts from hearing certain lawsuits against states.
That's what it is. I knew it had something to do with federal and state. I just couldn't remember the distinction.
Yeah, so...
Because I definitely sue a whole lot of states in federal court.
Right, but...
then it was Sarah Keaton Campbell that was just announced as the new Justice of the Supreme Court.
Justice Campbell, correct.
Oh, did you get announced?
She was
appointed already?
Believe so.
I got a notification from the Tennessee Bar Association a day or two ago that she did.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was watching nightly news.
I think I saw the hearing of her like getting. I guess she was just in front of the Judiciary Committee of either the Senate or the House.
What are we talking about here? I'm sorry. The new
State Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. Okay,
State
sorry.
Supreme Court.
I apologize. I thought you were talking about the U.S. Supreme Court.
No.
Replacing that guy that's retiring.
No, sorry.
That guy that's retiring.
I think the guy. I think the vacancy was
that not implied in my statement?
No, it's just that's a huge thing right now.
Apparently the vacancy was due to a passing.
I mean, it's going to be a black lady. We know that much.
That's what we've been told.
I mean, apparently it's been narrowed down to 3. He's supposed to meet with Biden in the coming week.
I hadn't heard that, but
yeah, that's what I saw this morning on the news when I was watching the news, that it had been narrowed down to 3. You know, it's that, and we're going to war with Russia again, or not war, but some sort of actions over there. That's what the news was.
Pass.
I agree. Hard pass.
We've done enough of the misadventures in war over the last 20 years.
Well,
hard pass. Ukraine needs to fight its own battles.
I don't think Ukraine wants anything to do with this.
That's fine. Good. Same. I think we're a little off topic, but just saying.
Yeah.
Legally, I know Seth and I were kind of talking about with the Arbery case as far as hate crimes.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, this is one that I might be stupid on.
When or why, and I can kind of see, like, and Seth's thinking is, you've had a decision in the state court, why then add that federal case? I mean, I understand it's a federal hate crime law. In some states, I think there's still a handful that don't have hate crime laws. I mean, and my thought of it kind of goes back to, possibly kind of the 60s and 70s, where there were still states that they had issues of, pseudo corruption that was going on, where the federal government said, like, we're going to overrule that state case because
hold my beer.
Hold my beer, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I'll take care of this.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the rationale is for doing that, because I believe they all got life, right, in the state case.
Yeah, it was life plus 20 or something like that.
Something like that. So I don't think you're really going to add a whole lot. But again,
I mean, like of the 3 of them, one might make it through. Because a life sentence by definition is 25, right?
I have no idea.
I think it's like 25, and so that's why the 25 plus 20 makes it 45. And so the 2 of them are dead in 45 years, no matter what, unless they lived like 120. Which I don't really think that they probably need to still be in jail at 120 if they make it that far. But the younger one's like 25 or so. And so, in 45 years, he could be 110. So he could probably still be okay not going back, not staying in jail for another 25 years.
I mean, I guess the thought process is, and again, I don't know what the states was. Is it South Carolina? I can't remember.
Georgia. That was Georgia.
Georgia. Georgia, I don't know what their parole laws are or whatnot, but I guess the thought process may be that by the feds that they ensure that these guys never see the light of day again, I guess. But I don't know that to be true.
Yeah, for what little I read, it sounded like there was some pressure from the families to at least, I guess, put more pressure on them to do a federal case. But also, I think some of the families, even or Arbery's family, also said that they kind of thought it would be less of a punishment for them to be in a state prison versus a federal prison.
That's probably true. Usually the term club fed has some validity to it. Usually federal prisons have better conditions than most state prisons, particularly...
It seemed like they were saying the opposite, that they would have a better stay in the state prison versus taking it to federal court and having federal charges brought. Then they're put in.
It's club fed when it's white collar stuff. It's not club fed when it's...
Yeah, well, that's just an expression. But the fact of the matter is, my understanding has always been conditions overall in federal prison tend to be, by and large, better than state prison. So that's why they were asking them to push harder rather than just sort of leave it to the...
What you're saying is, if you're going to do something, make it sure that it reaches the federal level so you have a better jail time.
Sure.
That's the advice of my attorney.
I'm not sure if I'm endorsing that or not.
If you're going to commit a crime, go big.
That's what it sounds like to me. If you're going to
go hard or go home.
Cross state lines,
Right.
if you're going to kill your wife or whatever, kill your wife, but then take her to Kentucky to bury her.
Or if you're going to deal drugs, don't do it locally. Expand out your horizons. Make it a multi-state operation, I guess. I don't know. That is not legal advice in any way, shape, or form.
Go for Rico, yo.
I need to call my malpractice carrier and say, I was just kidding. I swear to God.
This episode is brought to you by disclaimers.
Right.
Disclaimer everything you ever say, and then you never actually said it.
True.
I'd say that's one that bothers me. Okay, so, because you're we get this a lot in this just the social sphere and the stuff that's going on is that you could say a phrase without context. That phrase can mean 100 different things, and what obligation do I have to, if I can't, I don't know, I can't like my stupid rant earlier about the woman can't do the job because she's going to have a period or whatever. I thought as I was saying that it was pretty clear that I was making a joke, right? I thought that was pretty clear, but it would be certainly very simple for somebody to type that up and put it in a news article, and now all of a sudden I sound like a huge misogynist, and it's it was pretty obvious in context that it wasn't.
Well, and listen to a podcast. Obviously, your smirk that you're exhibiting to us came through, so that when they quote you in the Knox News Sentinel, they're going to say, "While he was smirking."
Right. Well, I don't care. It would be funny to me if I got quoted in the Knox News Sentinel, because that would at least mean that they acknowledge I exist, which is a win. Because what's the phrase? No press is bad press.
True statement.
Yeah.
Bad press is good press. Any press is good press. No,
I like full court press.
No press is bad press. That's the phrase.
By the way, full court press. Did Tennessee beat Vanderbilt tonight?
I don't know. I was going to bet on that, and then I forgot about it.
I was listening to it on the way over here, and they had dropped from was it a 15-point lead to a 5-point lead or something like that? It was pretty significant.
The Preds game's 2-2, Steve.
Shit.
Okay. Fuck. God damn it, you dumb shit.
Wow. All right. Tourette's coming out again?
Yeah, I got to fix that. All right. 3, 2, 1. Sam, Preds are 2-2. What were we checking? I was looking for the Tennessee game.
Tennessee Vandy.
I don't know what happened.
I was reading the women's hockey.
73-64. Tennessee wins.
Yes.
I think the women's hockey, I think it's either Canada, Sweden, or U.S., Sweden won 11-0.
I mean, men's hockey, U.S. beat China 8-0.
I think I saw it was the first game or something.
They beat Canada last night.
I think it's 2-0.
It's pronounced China.
China.
No, Canada was 2-1, 3-1.
Was it?
Yeah, because Canada scored first. That's the first time we beat Canada for 12 years, something like that. I was confused. One of the Stahl brothers was playing for Canada.
I remember reading about that.
I was very confused.
He was close to retirement. I think he was. Yeah, I think he literally just got assigned to the AHL or a lower league. But then it was also stated that he was going to go play for China.
Yeah, it was weird because they were talking about a bunch of different players that have some connections, whether they're in the minor league programs for one of the major teams or whatever. I was very confused on that.
How many Americans are competing for China, by the way?
I don't know. There's a ton. What's funny is watching Chinese athletes do their thing, and then it pans over to their coaches, and it's whatever nationality you would think would be the best at that sport. That's exactly what the coaching staff looks like. So it's I was watching it was skeleton or luge or one of the down bobsled style things or whatever.
So the coach was Jamaican.
No, but I mean, it looked like a Norwegian or a Swede. It definitely looked like a very Scandinavian looking dude was the coach. And it's okay, yeah. They went out and hired the best coaches in the world because they wanted programs. Apparently, China did not have a national what's the one on your back? There's skeleton, which is the face first on the sled.
Luge.
And then luge. They didn't have a luge or skeleton program before they got selected to host this Olympics.
So what you're saying is they were losers?
Right. Number one losers. There's a really funny YouTube video the guy did without that. But like when China got this Olympics, they started a luge and skeleton program. And so like 12, 16 years ago, whenever they got whenever they won the bid for it or whatever, and so they built an entire program in the period of time between getting the Olympics and actually hosting it. That was a neat little tidbit of news.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I feel educated.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I was watching it's one of the big air things on like his like snowboard or skiing, like the super big, the big ramp tricks or whatever. And it's like a completely artificial hill built next to some nuclear power plant.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I was like, wow, how pristine.
And like it was kind of cool to see, but it was definitely fake as shit. But yeah, it was like because like the one shot from the bottom of the hill where they're looking up and they're doing all these tricks. They're doing all these tricks, and there's a big fucking cooling tower behind them.
Like, wow, look at that cool! Like, is that a nuclear tower? They're next to.
I thought it was awesome.
I think I was just reading. I think it was a local. Channel 10 News or whatever does like their little on the app on the very bottom they do like their little fact checking thing, and I guess there was a question about when a dual citizen or whoever, if they can switch countries.
Yeah.
But apparently for the Olympics you have to decide 3 years before the Olympics, because I know America has a couple people that have dual citizenship. There's one, I don't remember what sport, I think it was a gentleman that's dual citizenship, Philippines, U.S.
Right.
And he decided to ski for the Philippines. It was some kind of skiing event.
I haven't watched a ton of this Olympics.
There was like, can they just switch or whatever, like whenever they want? And they're like, no, it has to be at least 3 years before the event. But yes, they can decide what country.
I don't remember if it was the last Winter Games or the summer one that we had in between the two. But I remember watching, and like it was like I think it was Summer Games. So I think it was track. There was some track meet, and it was like everybody like it's like the 400 meter race or whatever like that. And it's countries all over the world, Jamaica, America, Canada, whatever, because it's track, everybody knows how to run. But like every single person, like this one goes to UCLA, this one's at Harvard, this one, like all of them live and train in America. But whether it's a dual citizenship or they're in the States on a school visa or whatever, getting their education or whatever, like all of like the entire race, like the entire series of races, everybody was at a U.S. college of some sort. Like I think like 2 of like the 30 something that I was watching weren't U.S. college students. I was like, well, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, China had a couple. All right, I guess
I got nothing.
I think they were Americans that possibly had dual citizenship. I'm not 100%, but I read an article that was kind of like the 2 different receptions of essentially 2 women that both had the same citizenship that were, I think both of them had lived in the U.S. but were competing as on the Chinese team.
Right.
That one had this wonderful, great reception. The other one apparently was just getting like the shit dogged out of her because I believe she had some kind of bad run in whatever event she was in. So everyone was like, oh, go back to America. Apparently she was getting like shit on social media.
Oh, are you talking about this Olympics?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the figure skater. I can't remember her name, but she crashed and burned.
I think that may have been.
And the Chinese were like...
Well, she's going up. She should go up.
Like, oh, go back to America.
She's not going to be in last place, though.
This other dual citizenship that was competing for China, like, the whole country was behind her.
That not Russian lady is going to lose her medal or whatever.
Oh, is that the one?
I think that was a team event was what I was reading. I thought it was an individual, but apparently it was a team, like, figure skating event.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand the specifics of the event. I just, I don't understand this whole ROC instead of Russian team thing.
It was a penalty that was applied to them because of... I think it started in Sochi.
Right.
So is that
past doping stuff.
Where I think they said, for the next 2 Olympics or whatever.
So they just can't sing the anthem? Is that pretty much what it is?
They can't compete under the Russian flag. As far as... I've been wondering if it counts towards their country medal count, essentially. Every year they're like, oh, this country has this many gold medals and blah, blah, blah.
End of the day...
If technically it doesn't go under the Russian Federation, because it's like the Russian Olympic confederation or something. Yeah, so they can't compete under the actual Russian flag. So it's this weird white flag with a with a crest or whatever.
They're way sneakier when they don't have the flag. I mean, just ask the Ukrainians.
Well, we got to make all
Who
new.
are these green men?
You got to make all new uniforms.
I was just trying to look up the medal count real quick. There it is.
Deutschland.
It's the Germans.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that right?
Surprise! Norway and Sweden are in the top 5.
That's weird.
It was like the U.S. was tied for 6 earlier today when I was looking.
Well, maybe
They got our
something's
shit
happened.
I don't know.
The Rock.
Didn't say what if it.
They didn't stop the Olympics from the last time you looked.
I mean, it's 8 o'clock in the morning over there, so they just started. I would assume they're just starting doing shit for the day right now.
Maybe.
Did you check to see if ROC has invaded UKRAINE yet?
I'm not. But we sent 2,000 more, 3,000 more over to Poland today.
I don't know.
And apparently Biden and Putin were supposed to talk at some point today.
Yeah,
They were supposed to have a phone call.
They spoke today.
But I did also see that the State Department issued a 48-hour notice to U.S. citizens in Ukraine to get the fuck out.
I think the UK
If you need
essentially
help, we'll do it for the next day or so, but after that, you're on your own.
After that, it's Afghanistan all over again.
Yep.
I think UK just did the same thing. Basically, you
a
need to
couple of other
evacuate.
countries did,
We're not guaranteeing a airlift out of there if you're a citizen.
So, yeah,
I don't know.
world geopolitics and conflict in the world.
I still want to. I think and also hope that it's just kind of posturing.
Yeah, I mean, if Macron's apparently doing most of the legwork of trying to actually talk about shit.
I did see that supposedly that he and Putin had a relatively decent talk, and
Also,
it
really
seemed like the
large
hostilities
table.
at the very large table. I think I only saw a picture of it.
I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I saw a headline or whatever that Macron refused to submit to a COVID test because he didn't want the Russians having his DNA.
What?
That is what the French call intelligent.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, that makes sense.
Where'd you see this?
I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. It's on
Okay.
Facebook.
All right.
It's
It'd be like
true.
there'd be radioactive isotopes in that test.
Yeah.
Cool, you saw it on Facebook. All right.
I mean,
Must be true. I was waiting when I was watching the little video clip I saw of Putin and Macron at the giant table. I was waiting for one of them.
does Reuters count? Is Reuters count?
It does.
Okay.
It's German.
I would consider it, yeah.
I was just waiting for one of them to take a glass of vodka and just slide it all the way down the table.
That would have been nice.
Grey Goose versus Stolichna.
I wouldn't say necessarily that you were wrong. I was just wondering where you heard it.
I was just.
And then
I thought your criticism was fair, so I decided to further my research. And
I appreciate
if
you doing
Reuters
that.
And CNN count, then I'll take it.
I thought my vodka joke was great, but no one laughed.
I think it's vodka.
Vodka.
I don't know. What else? Last call.
What else is going on in the world?
Elections, Knox County.
Yeah.
Courts. Go vote. Learn about some candidates before you vote, though, please.
Which I don't know where you're going to do that because
You come to me and become my client, and then sue someone, appear in front of the judge, and then you'll know about the incumbent.
There you go. You got to do it real fast.
Oh yeah, you need to get on it.
It's like,
How long is that free consultation?
What free consultation?
well, all right, Jamie, I appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Next time we have some, I don't know. I'm sure there's 10,000 things that I forgot about that we've had shows where I'm like, man, I wish we got to say anything about this one. Maybe I'll get to. I'll start texting you in the middle of shows from now on. Just be like, hey, what's the deal with this thing? Because I know how we can make you call in. That'll work too.
I can call in.
All right. Well,
I like being here better because there's free whiskey.
Yeah, it's true. That's what we do. We get people drunk, or I get myself drunk, and other people get drunk around me. But
there you go. Support system. That's what friends are for.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, well, there's Jamie, everybody. We learned a little bit more about what court does what, and some of that kind of stuff, and stupid questions that I have. So I appreciate it. I had a good time.
Thanks, man. Had
Cool.
a good time. Back to the whiskey.
All right, it's time for Almost in Agreement, everybody. AC showed up. He's got a sweet, sweet rum that somebody bought him. We've got Sam in the room. Lawyer Jamie's going to stick around. He'll make it through. I don't know. He might bounce out a little bit early. We'll see what happens. we're going to do a show. We're going to talk about stuff. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. While you're there, you can check out my job description sheet as well as our 2020 voter guide. That voter guide is going to give you a quick breakdown of who's running for what seat. It's also got your KGIS links and Knox Election Commission links, so you know which district you're voting in and where you're registered to vote, all that kind of stuff as well. Go to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and follow us there, or follow us on your favorite podcast provider. While you're there, please like, share, subscribe, whatever the thing is that the site does to help keep the numbers up. And tell your friends about us. And anyway, almost agreement. We're going to do a show. We're going to get Hammered probably doing it. So here we go. I'm proud of my intro. I'm still not bored with it.
It's beautiful.
Just it isn't working.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not hearing it.
There you are.
No, I'm really not.
Do. How about now?
Sure.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're working. Anyway, what's new, fellas? What's going on?
You need to get some sort of air purification system. That
I know. I've thought about
here.
Really, truly. The idea has crossed my brain. I mean, if it'll warm up, I can at least open a window and have some, like, I don't know, it's just fans are fucking loud. That's the problem with doing that. Get a fan, get a window and get a fan sucking out the smoky air, but I just don't want, like, I don't want that hum of a fan going on the whole time.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that would be a nice, like, I mean, really, like, long term, I want to get a separate space, whether it's a
shed or
whether it's a storage unit, like, out in the yard, or whether it's a, like, back of some, warehouse district thingy, where it's like a separate standalone space.
Warehouse district thingy. What is
get one of these, like one of these strip malls, like over here at the shopping center. They've got.
You're making zero money on this right now.
So
you're going to arbitrarily pay for space where you don't have any cash flow whatsoever.
Sure, you could rent. This is a great hobby.
You could rent an office from me for the right price.
Oh yeah. You got an extra office space now?
Sure, if you clear all the shit out of it.
Well, because you keep firing people. What do you mean?
Well, if they wouldn't suck so much.
So, yeah, because this isn't about money for me, buddy. I enjoy just making shows. It's fun for me. I enjoy it. Makes me happy.
Like all my clients say, it's not about the money, it's about the point. Right. Sure.
Okay, fine. Fair value. So, anyway, what's new? What's going on? What's happening? What I miss?
Nothing. There's a game tomorrow.
Did you write a letter?
What? They write a letter? I'm working on it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I really am.
I mean, I think we're fine, and I think I'd like to get it out Monday.
We'll have to chat about that off air, actually, about how much anonymity we want to provide. Because I think if we...
I don't care, obviously. But
well, I don't care either, actually, about maybe unveiling the cloak a little bit to make it a little more genuine. But we can talk about that off air.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We've been working on trying to get Lamar on the show, and I don't... I think it's an interesting play. I think it's something that he'd have an interesting insight on with the history he's had. The question is, how much does it impact? I mean, the real question is like, again, we need to look it up what the bill numbers is and what the details are. But
did you pay your internet?
No. The question, I mean, the question is, how serious is this bill? Is this one of those that somebody introduced because they were being pissy, and it's going to quickly die in committee, or is this something that's actually going to go somewhere? And it was like, because again, like, was this put in place to raise a stink to get TDORA to back off of what they were trying to do, and so Scott County or whoever gets what they want without actually doing anything functionally different, or is this something that's really going to get pushed and continue to move forward? That's question A in the grand journalism of trying to follow this story. To me,
was it a bipartisan introduced bill?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to go find it back in the conversation thread. Past our videos of wonderful food being made.
Yeah, I'd be curious if they've brought this before and it failed.
Right.
Or if we have particular counties that have been under budget constraints, which I think the last time Tennessee released their budget, we're essentially not necessarily in a surplus, but we're doing better than what we had anticipated.
We're not in the red.
I don't know where did we have? Was it in our group chat?
Yeah, sure was. Just
I sent you a more recent one that had specified just particular county. I don't know if you got that same email from TWRA.
Yeah, why don't you just do a search in your text for TWRA, just see what comes up. It might be easy, or faster. There you go. Bipartisan bill.
Yeah, Tennessee Lookout one, that's right. That sweet movie poster, Deer Slayers movie. I'm looking forward to that one. Comes out sometime in November, right? It's gonna be a killer movie.
Pretty bad. This is ridiculous.
That one is a bad link.
So, can you not Google it? Just Google TWRA bill. Whatever.
So I'm sure the listeners are way more informed than me. Me being the dumbass. What the fuck are we talking about? May I get the Cliff Notes version, please?
So TWRA gets most of its money from license sales and that sort of shit. They don't get any tax revenue from the state. And so this particular bill is going to strip the ability for TWRA to sort of have their own set of money allocated to them and actually be under the purview of the state. The interesting thing is TWRA is actually one of the very few organizations, at least here in Tennessee, that we think consistently does a decent enough job that, we don't think they're fucking things up.
Because one of the first times you did the show, I asked what's a government body that you feel like does a good job, and you said the court system and stuff like that, because that's what you do for a living. That kind of shit.
I'm not biased.
I mean, it's fine. I'm just saying. That was
It might be just that web page. So see if there's a different
News Kudo.
Yeah.
TWRA does do a good job. I know, or at least I have been acquaintances with one of their, I believe, board members in the past who's a local attorney. And they do a good job, and they get my money every year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do too, and we're big fans of it. So so essentially, whether or not TWRA should stay under the same set of financial rules as the rest, any other state body. I don't know. That's kind of the push. At least that's the argument for. The argument for is there's no other state body that's allowed to operate the way that TWRA does, in the sense that they're allowed to sell state goods, for lack of a better word, and keep the profits from it. Where
100% of the profits,
right?
Yeah, I think in their instance it was lumber sales, timber sales, where the TWRA, I guess, was able to have a company come in, do a sale of part of that timber. 200
acres, you can come take all the trees you want, you're going to give us X and go about your business. Right. And then TWRA is going to fold that in.
That's not how that works, but yeah.
I mean, but, okay.
I mean, but yeah, it's specific trees that are able to be marked, but yes.
Right, but
it's not a carte blanche of, here's this land, go take what you want.
The plan is to deforest a section of this park or state wildlife land. The plan is to deforest. That's what they want to do.
Is that Bridgestone Firestone thing? Is that what we're talking about?
Maybe. But the plan is to deforest the stretch of land so that they can turn it into a wetland instead of a wooded area, because they're trying to get this duck or quail or whatever it is.
I may have misread it. I thought the first one just had to do with TWRA's ability to receive
they're trying to,
from land sales.
Right, converting closed canopy forest into savanna grassland, shrublands. In the Bridgestone Firestone Wildlife Management Area, by letter say converting to closed canopy forest back into savanna grasslands is one of the most crucial needs for species of great conservation concern and game species. So,
and there was one that I'd sent you recently that had to do, I think, with just one particular wildlife management agency or area, WMA.
I would be curious what sort of initiated TWRA to be financially independent in the first place.
Right.
Is there a series?
What's the history?
Is there a series of laws or whatever that were established to make that even a thing in the first place? And what was the argument initially for that to occur? Presumably, you would have an organization that doesn't have to worry about its money going other places.
And I think more to the point is they were probably always looked at to not take from the general coffer. And so somebody, I would assume they were only ever funded by licenses and permits and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So this Campbell character, whoever the hell this is, so this is a quote. I think fiscal responsibility is important to all Tennesseans. People in our state government don't know what's going on with TWRA. This bill would bring the same oversight that every other division of state government operates under. So I guess my question would be, if the overwhelming majority of the money that you have is coming from sales that you're directly involved with, it doesn't fucking matter what the government should see what's going on in this particular place, because like they're raising the money. Well,
and to me, it doesn't say that it's not transparent. That it's clearly they're going to raise money by selling timber rights to this section of land.
I wonder who this Campbell.
It's not a transparency issue as much as it's a transparency within the normal.
Heidi Campbell, Democrat, Nashville. I don't know anything about that character.
The one I sent you was like right before that picture. I think I may have just listed what the Senate bill was.
So House Bill 1670 proposed by Scott Sipicki. And Senate Bill 1839 from Hensley would move 12,800 acre Yanahali. Yeah, is that it? How'd you say that? Yanahal?
No.
Yanahali Wildlife Managed Area from the state of Tennessee to the Maury County government.
Yeah. Which I think TWRA has come out and said that basically, like, we've never had a county that's ever done this, let alone they don't think they have the expertise to essentially manage such a large tract of land.
Right.
Like, that's kind of cool that you want to, but we don't think you have the expertise to
manage. Right, of that 12,800 acre wildlife management area, how many animals come and go from that from outside of Maury County?
Sure.
And how much would Maury County's version of the TWRA keep track of and be able to manage that kind of stuff, where that's what TWRA does?
Right. Well, yeah, I think essentially that's their argument.
Right.
My issue has always been like legitimate transparency. Like, why are we actually doing this right now? Like, Let's just cut the shit. Like, why the fuck are we actually doing this right now?
We're trying to see how to get the 2023 budget off the ground, or
somebody's pissed somebody off,
right?
Or somebody's looking to gain political points somehow by looking at all the money that they were able to raise with a bill that they had passed, when in reality they didn't raise anything. It just came under their purview. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just wish, and again, this is naive, but I just wish somebody would just cut the shit, just be fucking honest, and just say why the fuck we're actually doing this.
Right.
And
I mean, the question is, where is the actual journalism in the story of somebody actually tracking the shit down? Like, where does this actually come from?
Well, that was my whole thing of, I'll pay for 2 sportsman licenses for 2 years.
I don't know that. I don't know if he's going to
be honest about it. I don't know. He might. I mean, who knows?
Right.
I mean, he doesn't have a dog in the fight now. Fuck. Right. His legacy is already done, so it doesn't really matter what he does at this point.
I mean, I acknowledge that for sure, but I'm just saying, like, what, like, why isn't we're obviously not the only people that are interested in this.
I mean, we're the only ones that are talking about it. It seems.
I mean, yeah, because what little coverage there has been. What?
I mean, you make that argument out of any news story.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just thinking about like you could Google bills in like Colorado and Wyoming and that sort of thing about whether or not gray wolves should be hunted, and like some of the state legislators have attempted to ban that sort of thing, and yet people have pushed back on it, and they've defeated the bill, and like I'm still waiting on, like, I don't even know what the fuck. I mean, maybe this is on me, but I don't even know what the Tennessee Lookout is. Like, maybe it's something that's read, more frequently than I'm giving it credit for. But
I think it's a Chattanooga
newspaper.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's their like News Sentinel sort of thing.
So, yeah.
It's their main paper.
All right. Well, anyway,
I mean, some of it's just essential regional. I mean, you're only going to find some of those local news stories essentially published.
Right, but I think this particular bill, though, has ramifications for the entire state.
Right.
So, I mean, like, I get that it's local, but, like, where does this shit stop?
I would agree. I mean, it affects other people, but as far as, their readership and who they think is going to be interested in taking up that space in a story or on a website,
You should also look and see when the next TWRA board meeting is. It might be on the agenda.
Where do they do the board meetings?
I'm sure it's in Nashville.
I think so.
I mean, where's their home office?
I'm 95% sure it's in Nashville.
This is the worst. That's, I mean...
What are you looking for?
Trying to find, like, because it doesn't, in the article that'll open on my computer from News Channel 9...
You looking for the representatives that brought this up?
Right, because it doesn't have a House bill or a Senate bill number.
I mean, I've got both of them. It's Heidi Campbell and John Reagan.
I mean, this one says Robin Smith and Greg Vitale.
Well.
I mean, they're the legislators from Chattanooga area. They're of the 34 legislators.
They could be local legislators, though.
Right. They are. They're the local ones there.
The ones that are actually...
But they're of the 34... who's the House rep?
TN, General Assembly.
John Reagan, RAGAN.
That is Oak Ridge.
It is Oak Ridge. Yeah. He's the Republican, and Campbell is a Democrat.
Look at that handsome bastard from North Carolina.
Southern Baptist. Can you believe in aeronautical sciences if you're a Southern Baptist?
It tells you. It tells you on there. If you go there about you, yeah.
Sunset laws. He's very into sunset laws. Jesus Christ.
Really into sunset laws.
That's all it is.
Holy shit. It's his thing.
That's all I care about. That's what I'm here for.
What the fuck is it?
We see the mountains, and I'm all cared about the sunset.
All right. I mean, last thing he sponsored or co-sponsored was March of last year. Last thing he sponsored was March of last year.
Are those organized by date?
Yeah, I don't think they are. I think they're done by the actual bill number, so it's not necessarily organized by date.
But I'm pretty sure bill numbers are by date.
It's
when they're introduced.
Or not.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's when they're introduced. And we talked about before. Some things are from the previous legislative
session.
You're looking
for 1814 is what you're looking for. State Bill 1814.
There we go. It's in government ops right now. Was its last?
Yeah, so introduced extends Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission to June 30, 2026. Amends TCA title, whatever. Okay. Amendments. No. Summary. No. Fiscal note.
Here, I'll text it to you because I'm looking at it right now.
You can look at votes. Oh, it passed on the A's in the Senate.
On the Government Operations Committee.
There you go.
GovOps. Go Vops.
Yeah. As introduced, requires proceeds from the sale of assets by the Wildlife Resources Agency to be deposited in the general fund. It's horseshit. So what's the operating definition of assets?
I mean, the sale of right.
Is it
right? Because a license.
It's a license and asset.
A license and a permit would be an asset. Yeah, I would think definitionally.
Quota hunts. I mean, everything goes into it.
I'd be curious to watch the video on it and see if it actually asks, is TWRA all of a sudden coming into a giant amount of money?
Okay, hold on. Time out.
And they're like, hey, you guys.
Even if it did, fuck it, I don't care.
All right, time out 1 second. All right, so in a major episode of technical difficulties, we lost like an hour of taping. So we're just going to pick up. We were talking football. We talked a bunch more about TWRA stuff. Jamie called in tonight and he got out of here. So anyway, that happened, and here we are. So I don't know. Let's talk about the Super Bowl short term. I don't know what to do anymore. This sucks.
You're pissed.
Yeah, we lost so much shit.
So
who cares about the Super Bowl?
I'm going to turn my thing up a little bit. I can't really hear myself, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go again.
Here we go. All right. So we had this meandering dog that sort of walked in here and fucked everything up. So we solved all the world's fucking problems, but none of you fucking sons of bitches can hear any of it because it's not fucking recorded.
Yep. So, stupid dog, man. Stupid dog.
Seth came up with a way to have an air purification system in here so we can smoke cigars and cigarettes at our leisure, but I can't remember what the fuck it was that he concocted, so we don't have that shit either.
If all you want to start vaping, man.
I don't want to vape, dude. I like the cigar smoke.
I know.
If I wanted nicotine, I'd just continue with the damn Nicorette gum that I use anyway. So,
Touche.
I don't know how people do meth. Like, legit, I don't know how people do meth.
Okay.
But I gotta tell you, when you're working nights, Nicorette gum does its fucking job. Like, it'll wake you up pretty fucking quick.
Have you tried the snus?
So I have tried snus. So one of the 817 years that I was in school, I tried that stuff. But I would get high as fuck with that stuff, dude. Like I didn't feel comfortable driving a car.
I couldn't get past and never really got into really like dipping or anything.
Yeah.
I did like the bandits, so it was essentially like the pouches. But even then, like, there's just used to like spitting. It just didn't make sense to me even when it first came out. It's like, oh, it's this, spitless tobacco. And I'm like, I don't really want to swallow that.
For the sake of the joke that I know is going to come from what I'm about to say, is like I couldn't help but swallow. And like, and then it got really like, and then it tears your fucking stomach up.
I appreciate that. That is the only reason why we're still friends.
And so like it's just like I didn't like, that was my problem with doing any dip and dip alternatives or whatever. It's like I couldn't not swallow.
That's exactly why we're still friends.
That's my issue with cigars. Like I can't help but inhale.
So I never really got into inhaling cigarettes.
I remember when we did it when we were out here. We were smoking cigars that one night. There was the baby cigars, right?
I literally made like 3/4 of it, and then I guess alcohol finally, and just instincts took over.
And then
I was like, oh fuck.
So even when I was in bars and shit, like first time around in college, I never inhaled cigarettes. So I think the technique for me was always cigar technique, regardless. If that makes any sense. So like
you smoked them, but you never inhaled.
Yeah.
All right, Bill.
Whatever. There was something about it that I just didn't.
Right.
Like it didn't have a good taste, I guess, or a good flavor, or maybe I was smoking the wrong shit. I don't know, but at the time it's probably like Marlboro Reds or some shit like that. But man, fuck, I can smoke cigars daily. Not daily, but I smoke them often. So.
Yeah. I mean, again, and then go back, I don't know if we talked about it already, like that is the goal of the non-mini making show, is I want to get it out of here so that we could. And it's a dedicated space. The dog doesn't have to fucking come along.
What stops you from just walling this in?
We've talked about it. It's just, I mean...
We could realistically do that in an evening.
Right.
Like an afternoon, evening.
For like the long-term function of the house, then it's going to have to be taken back down. Like, I don't want to be in here. Like, I want to take it so... Because if we're in here, if we put a wall there... We still have a dog problem. He's still going to scratch the door. He's going to want to come in. We still got to deal with that noise. I'm still not sure I'd want to have a cigar and stuff.
I mean, the dog is in here and he fucks shit up, so what's it matter?
Right.
I mean.
But when he fucks shit up, generally, other than him randomly barking at stuff every once in a while, we generally don't hear him on the show.
You could put a Dougie door in there.
Right.
I mean, you could. I'm not saying...
Right, but that doesn't solve the cigar issue either, because we're not smoking cigars in here because you open that door and that smell comes out.
I mean, if you've got a way to, set it out there.
Right. Either way, the goal is to go outside. Okay. I don't want to be somewhere else.
Let's build something outside.
It's on my list of shit to do after buying a piece of land and maybe another car. Not that e-truck. The more I think about it, the more you're right. I don't want another fuck. I realistically, I think that if I'm gonna buy something, I don't know. Fucking used market sucks too. Because I like buying new cars. If I'm going to buy a car, I want to buy a new car. That's just my thing.
I want it gently new. I don't want to take. I don't want to buy I don't want to take the depreciation hit. You know what I mean? Like, so I bought a 2017. It had like 22,000 miles on it. That was healthy for me because I didn't take that much of a hit on it. And actually,
right. I bought brand new, and I didn't take that hit, but that's because of the weirdness of the market right now.
Yeah, right now,
that's atypical though.
Right.
I've been looking around, and a used car that's a year or 2 years old is almost exactly the same price as a brand new model.
Yeah, and I mean, but for me too, is like I drive them. I mean, you do too. That's what I think is weird about your mentality of it, is that you drive them to death. I mean, how long do you have that fucking Malibu?
Shit, I probably had 300,000 miles on it.
Right. I've got just under 200 on the pickup.
Right, but the difference for me is like I probably will put 200 or 300 on that one, but I mean, the cash inflow is significantly different now.
Right.
I mean, it was easier for me to say, well, fuck, I don't want to spend the money on it now because I still want to buy the things that I want to buy without having to worry about budgeting stuff. Like, I don't really have to, like, I don't budget for much.
Right.
Realistically. So.
Go on, brush your shoulders off.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I mean, I definitely need more. That's for sure.
But, I don't know, for me, it's like, I know, like, barring some ridiculous special lemon that I accidentally buy because I didn't know any better or it's not known yet, I'm going to drive it. I'm going to drive it till it's worthless. That's how I treat cars. And so,
I was kind of thought about wanting to get a brand new car because most manufacturers' warranty don't apply unless you are the original owner to get that 3-year 36 or 6-year 60 or whatever.
I agree with that, but I also think that like today's technology, if you've got a car that's going to have an issue in those 3 years or 48,000 miles or whatever it is.
Yeah, you don't want it for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I mean,
right. But at the same token, they know there's a reason they put that limit on it. That most of those that basic 3-year 36, when random shit starts going wrong, they don't want to fix those other random things after 36,000 miles.
Yeah,
they know that there's a limit to it, and especially with so much electronics that have come into it now to where, I mean, I've looked at some of the new cars and I'm trying to find some that don't have it, but essentially your infotainment center that also has your HVAC system is all on a touch screen. So if that one thing goes out, you're losing that whole system.
Yeah, I mean,
multiple systems. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I get it. I guess my argument though is, it is very unlikely that with today's technology that infotainment center or anything similar to that will fuck up in the 36,000. That's at least my vantage.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is yeah.
So, like, they offered it for me. I could have extended it to like 100,000.
Right.
It was like an extra 6,000. I'm like, I don't know if I. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like I think I've got 70,000 on it now.
There's a lot of fine print to it.
I'm sure.
And a lot of those don't cover like basic stuff,
right?
Or what they call like wear and tear.
Right.
There has to be an actual failure, a provable failure,
unrelated to
electronic.
Right, like Max had 2 engines in like some Kia he got, and it was right on the fucking tail end of it. It was a big mess. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
He needs to be here to tell that story.
In fairness, though, we should have probably bought a Kia.
No, I'm just saying, like, it was a perfect, like, it was, like, right at the tail end of it, engine fucking, and I don't remember exactly what the story was. It was a great, big, complicated story because they took it and couldn't get the replacement engine for it, ended up putting a different engine, and you ended up getting, like, a more or less a brand new engine put in after 100,000 miles on it, and this whole big mess. Mm-hmm. He'll have to tell you the story at some point because I'm not doing a good job remembering it very well. I just remember it being a big fuss because it was, should have been one of those couple weeks maybe, and it ended up being like 6, 7, 8 weeks before they finally got it switched over and all that kind of shit. He got his car back.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's, the dealership essentially kind of sometimes fighting with,
manufacturer.
Kia, Kia in that aspect. To where the dealership may be covered under manufacturer's warranty and the customer's mind. The dealership then there has to prove that there's a mechanical failure for them to get, Kia Motors of America, whoever, to then cover that. I mean, it's essentially kind of an insurance type thing where you've got to prove that it was a manufacturer's defect and not something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran into that a lot with my limited time in auto service industry.
Yeah,
a lot of times you've got to prove cause of failure.
That's funny. When we talked about that initially, I never knew you worked there. Like when we had that conversation about working at that place, I never knew that.
A few years. Not a bad concept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely upsides and downsides to it.
Mm-hmm. Who's this Steve Weiner guy?
Oh, he's a county commissioner wannabe.
I'm curious. Excuse me. I'm curious why this is even here.
Weiner, I think is how he pronounces his name.
Seth, why is this Steve Weiner? Maybe Weiner, probably Weiner.
Did he ask you to
leave this on the counter?
Put that out for people and solicit for him?
I mean, apparently it's working. He left it here.
Yeah, we've already got. Yeah, sorry.
Why is this still here?
Because he left it here. I got business cards from other people.
He's funny.
Sorry, we're interrupted by my eldest. What's going on?
Fork over the $20.
So let me ask you a question. So
why are you standing like that?
because I want my $20.
So I got a question for you. First of all, are we going to the OK Corral?
That's the stance, yeah.
Okay. Second question.
He's squaring up.
I see that. I'm trying to back him.
You owe me money.
I'm trying to back him down. Do you want to help him? Or can I have a conversation with him?
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So, is there anything?
Hey, come here.
Is there a product of value that you may want that could be utilized in exchange for the $20?
What does that mean? I need help.
Okay. Let me rephrase it. Is there something that you want that could potentially go in place instead of cash? Can I get you instead of the $20?
There's something online that's online cash.
Okay, what is it?
It's Gorilla Tag money, and it's $20.
What the hell is that?
It's a game. It's a VR game.
Is it like a gift card?
It's like.
I mean, it would be you. He logs in. You put your credit card in.
That's a gift card,
right?
I'm looking for a tangible good.
Tangible, like something he can go to the store and buy you.
I just want something online.
Well, I mean,
can you buy something online that can be shipped?
Hey, he owes you the money. It's your terms, not his.
He wants something online.
He wants $20.
I said I would give him $20. I didn't say how the $20 would be given.
Touche.
True.
Is that a question or a statement?
No, because
you should have negotiated these terms
he
prior.
Said he'd give you $20, not $20 in value of things.
Yeah.
He said he'd give you $20.
I also did not say that.
Oh. Ooh. See?
All right.
These
so once again, he's going to run you out of money.
I'm not going to run you out of money. I'm just trying to figure out what would be better.
To dodge you. It's cool.
I'm not trying to dodge you. I'm just trying to say, $20 might be better if it's something that you can say, oh, wow, this is really a nice item that I can hold in my hand.
He made a bet and lost. Well, not a bet. He made a... How would you term that thing? I'm not sure.
I don't even remember what the fuck it was now.
If only we had a lawyer here.
You were trying to get me to throw... You wanted me to throw that desk away.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you said, tell your dad to throw that desk away, I'll give you $20.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you said $20.
Right, sure. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm saying that I also didn't say $20.
You must
$20
now,
bucks.
You must now kill $20.
I'll work on it. I'll see if I can get some.
Give him the processed meat worth of $20.
Well, if he wants it, I'm not that big of an asshole.
Well, I mean, you can give him $20 full bucks, but I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, and you're giving him
do it that way, yeah,
$20 of processed meat.
So that'll take you 40 years.
Do you want to drop off?
Oh, if it's you, it's going to take you 100 years.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not the reigning champ or whatever. Well, I guess I'm tied for champion this last year.
Yeah, that's fair. The guy shoots one fucking deer and he can't shut his cocksucker.
I didn't even bring it up.
Yes, you did. You're the one that brought it up. What do you mean you didn't bring it up? You fucking brought it up.
All right, you're right. I brought it up. Fine.
Oh man, arguing with you, dude. It's like fucking banging your head against a wall.
Anyway, Steve Weiner. Yes.
I'm not trying to blurb this cat. I'm just trying to figure out why the fuck is this shit here.
Because he was here yesterday doing a show with me.
Everybody's a conservative outsider. Everybody's saying that.
Well, they're running against Larson. That's the whole. Larson Jay's the. So on the 5 question things, you remember the 5 questions that we talked about? We made up for me to ask everybody. Do you remember?
What's an outsider on the county commission?
Well, because it's specifically because he's going for seat 10, which Larson Jay holds the seat currently and is running to keep it. Right. Larson has not been a particularly consistent conservative, as mentioned, or as argued at least, and so that's his stance is against Larson. Because he's not worried about Dylan, who's running as a Democrat, because he's not
a conservative. He's an outside conservative.
Right.
I like to be outside.
Well, it's outside against what Larson Jay's version of conservatism is.
Okay.
Has this motherfucker been on here on the podcast?
Which one is the
yes, he was here yesterday.
Knox County?
This guy was?
GOP.
Okay. Was it any good?
It was some of the most comfortable podcasts.
What does that mean?
It's one of those a lot of people.
I'm putting you on the spot. That's not what I'm trying to do.
No, a lot of people do it where they're very uncomfortable, and then I turn the tape off, and they're very comfortable.
So he's a politician, is what you're saying?
I guess we had 15 minutes of conversation off air. That would have been perfectly fine on air.
What did he do?
He's an attorney currently.
Huh.
See.
He was considered he was initially considering running for a judge seat, but he wants to make policy stuff, and so that's why he's running for this.
Do you believe that?
I mean, if finances are part of the conversation, then absolutely, because he's going from 161, as we were talking about earlier, as a judge, to
or you could realize that the writing's on the wall and you're not going to get it.
Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know which judge he was considering running for.
That would come to my guess is it was.
If you see the writing on the wall, just
the knowledge. Yeah, the knowledge was kind of ascertained that it would be a kind of waste of their time to go forward to the seat that
get this
may not come to fruition.
Come back, be a judge in 10 years.
Maybe, I don't know.
2 years, 4 years, whatever.
I need to get done with school. I feel like that we don't go to guns on these motherfuckers enough.
I agree.
I mean, I understand why, so I'm not trying to shit on you. That's not what I'm trying to say. Because, like, if you go to guns on everybody, you don't get anybody to show up. But if that's the case and you're giving softball questions all the time, then really it's just free publicity and free marketing and advertising for that particular individual and not for you.
What was his favorite ice cream?
I don't.
Is that a question?
Did you not go through?
I went through the 5 questions. Yes, he answered the 5 questions.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
He specifically answered the 5 questions.
Okay, cool.
I just don't. I mean, I did 6 shows this week, and so I don't remember everybody's exact answers.
All right.
You know who'd know their exact answers? Joe fucking Rogan.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He might.
Joe knows. Joe knows.
Okay. I want to say his was something walnut, maybe. My best recollection, but I'm not 100%.
Oh, some rum walnut.
Yeah, but so like Dominique left me her card, and Dino Cole left me his cards. People leave their different stuff here. And I mean, to go into the format of the way I do my interviews, sure. And I mean, I tell people that because he is among a number of other people who are like, we're like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? It's like, I don't know.
Is he here, or Zoom?
No, he was physically here.
Okay.
And funnily enough, he was actually here canvassing the neighborhood, knocking on doors. Yesterday?
Of course he was.
Today. And he's an Eric Wader candidate, if that means anything to anybody. No, I mean, for format's sake, I don't know. Like, I'm at this point, I still lean on how much I know I don't know. That I'm trying to figure out what the job is, some of the general lay of the field, and the stupid politics games that are part of it. And I don't really care. I don't really care an interview to, especially in a candidate, a current, like if like when Larson comes in, who's running against him, that's a different conversation because he currently holds a seat. I don't really feel the need on a candidate who's not there yet to lay into him about some of this conservatism thing. Because I mean, I did. I went in on a little bit on him about this, like, what does conservatism actually fucking mean? And like, what about the other parts of conservatism? Because like it's a label to me, and here's what I hear when I hear the phrase. Because I hear like Bible thumping. This that I didn't phrase it that way, but that's what I hear.
Right.
But how does that apply? Because that's my problem with the whole conversation about politics that I feel like is missing. How does it apply? Sure, you could be a Bible thumping whatever and go sit on commission, but when we're talking land use, what the fuck's Bible thumping have to do with that?
Oh, it was just implied. I mean, as we've talked about before, along the canvassing is, I'm going to do this for schools, I'm going to do this for the state, but it's not something they actually can do.
And right, and I think that's one of the number one issues, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be fixed. And a candidate's certainly not going to fix it because it's not in their best interest. They don't give a shit that whether they know it or not, or bold-faced lying to constituents saying...
All right, but I mean, we're reading off a flyer, and the flyer is meant to put PowerPoints as to get people to make a decision to vote for this person.
Right. And what PowerPoint on here is not in the job title?
Well, I don't...
I mean, the Second Amendment thing's not in the job title. I think it's fucking weird. Like, I don't think that belongs in his flyer.
What?
It doesn't belong in his flyer, or you understand why it's in his flyer?
I mean, I understand why it's in his flyer, but it doesn't belong in his flyer as per the seat he's seeking.
I would like to agree that the Second Amendment is a part of the U.S. Constitution.
Right. County Commission has zero influence on the right to carry in Knox County.
But that's not what he's suggesting. He's not suggesting that it does. He's suggesting that you can trust me because I own guns and want guns. And people that don't like guns can't be trustworthy. And so that's all he's saying there. He's not really saying that I'm going to push for Second Amendment rights. He's saying that you can trust me because you can't trust folks that don't back this, and I do.
I mean, I can see what you're saying there, but I just think I think the person that's going to hear him say that and say that counts, I don't know. I just don't think that should count in conversation. If it's not part of the job,
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that this is why we need to, like, those sorts of conversations. I feel like we need to have with these people.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying for sure, and I honestly, I wouldn't say that I don't pussy out in my head when I'm sitting here thinking about stuff like that and go, you know what, it's not, with where we sit right now and I mean, hell, I've got a fucking ton of interviews already on the books and a ton more lined up. And
so if you piss somebody off, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm not
sure if we've crossed that threshold yet. I don't know how I'm going to know when we do.
I think that's why I'm saying that, man, I can't wait till I'm fucking done with school in a little bit more time, because fuck, I have no problem being bad cop, because like at the end of the day, I think every bit of this right here is fucking nonsense. Like, I read this and I think every bit of it's nonsense. Like, the Second Amendment thing really is just trying to tell people that you're not a liberal, and around here you can't trust liberals. They're the boogeyman. They're going to take everything away from you. He supports small businesses. What does that even mean?
Right, and we talked about that.
Does he shop at Walmart? Because if he shops at Walmart, he doesn't support. You know what I mean? Like, to what extent? That doesn't make any sense.
I think small businesses are a good thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I do too.
They are a thing.
So do Democrats. Democrats think small businesses are good things. What the fuck does that even mean? Opposes government overreach. Okay, so what's his take on this? The TWRA thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. But here's I mean, to defend myself, I guess a little bit on that. It's like, where I absolutely see where the line goes, but that doesn't follow because it's not a county commission job.
That's not the point, though. Like, but if he's going to put this on here, he needs to articulate why it's on here. One, which is to the first point that you and I are agreeing on, and number two, what does it even mean? Why is it there, and what does it mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so. He's committed to completing the full 4-year term of commissioner because he's not a politician running for another political office. So I would imagine, I have no fucking idea, I would imagine that there's somebody that is either running against him or he's anticipating somebody running against him.
That's Larson. That's exactly
right. So
Larson.
Right. So that's all the fuck that is. And
right.
So he's firmly against raising the county's sales or property tax. I mean, who's going to put out on a bullet point that they are for it raising property and sales tax? So that doesn't say anything. Right. All he's really saying in here is,
so far on the candidate, on the 2 of the 3 that I've talked to already, none of them, even the Democrat that I've talked to, who's not really a Democrat either, but that's a whole separate topic, has no intent on raising taxes.
Right. So I just, all this is
right. It's the general boogeyman thing that a certain set, like that both sets have their versions of running on.
Yes, sir.
And don't want to do. And
just in case you were wondering, here's how I feel on these.
I'm not going to say the thing that nobody else is going to say, because I know that if I say this out loud, I'm not going to get elected. Todd Frohmeyer is the perfect example. Not that he had a chance in the first place, but he was perfectly open about talking about raising taxes as part of his campaign, and did terribly. I mean, there's a slew of other reasons why he might not have done very well. I mean, he's a Democrat in Knoxville, or Knox County at least. It's generally a lose-lose position.
Right.
You know,
I don't know. I find it interesting. I mean, because I feel like if I don't know what any of this means, one. And two, what if some of this stuff, if he could provide an answer for why he's arguing for it, is it in the best interest of this particular area for him to have that thought? Or is
he's countywide, but...
Okay.
I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, is it in the best interest in this area for him to be whatever he's for? Is it in the best interest or is it in his best interest to say that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so is he just representing the people, or does he know that, you know what, shit, it would be helpful.
These are the things that the people want to hear, and they vote for me because I say the things that they want to hear.
And I can make money and put on a suit and not have a real job.
Right.
Did you ask her?
Well, he has to have a real job because they don't get paid dick and commission. But this is whether this is the beginning of a systematic thing for his ascension into whatever.
It has to be.
I mean, that's an interesting take on it. I mean, I don't know. I could see it. I'm not disagreeing with you as far as this has to be the beginning of the politics, as far as a long political career for him. But it's obvious to me that he has. I don't know why we're picking on him, because we do a bunch.
He left his pamphlet. No, I mean, his pamphlets here, and he's the first one that I've seen just sort of laying out here, like you're. I mean, maybe he's a genuine dude, and if that's the case, like, hat off to you. But you still need to answer these fucking questions. If you're an elected official, you need to answer these fucking questions. Like, regardless of whether I agree with you or disagree with you, period, you should be able to answer these questions.
Right.
So, I
mean, like I said, he was around here. He might have knocked on your door.
I don't live here, remember?
That's true. thought she did. I'm so confused on this.
You should keep up with your friends a little bit better.
I don't know. Too busy doing podcasts.
Apparently so. Not getting paid for them.
But what I found interesting was that we were outside playing Foursquare, and he drove by and stopped and said, "Hey."
After I...
we play like every day.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have been tonight. I'm blending days together. It's either yesterday or
You must
today.
have had a lot of liquor tonight if you can't remember if it was today or yesterday.
Had this many. He stopped by to say hey or whatever, and then he pulled down the street and stopped somebody else out and went and knocked on the door or whatever. It's like, and I was telling the missus, like, he's not going to knock on our door. Not because he was here, but because they have their data that says whether we're worth spending your time on or not. And we're not worth spending the time on because she doesn't have a particularly active voting record, and mine's probably in their books they probably assume that I'm a given from my voting history, and so why spend your time on me? And they know that.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And so, like, it was kind of fun to see it in action. It's the first time I'm trying to think. I've had a few people knock on my door back in the 2020 elections, but I'm trying to think of who it was. I had a bunch of texts and stuff, but that was mostly from Bradshaw because I was trying to get her on the show. So I got on her mailing list or whatever on accident. So they were texting me. Poor people are like, I was like, I just want to talk to her, just hang out and have her come on my show or whatever. I don't care.
Out of Georgia Bradshaw?
Marquita?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Which Bradshaw are you thinking of?
Terry.
Pittsburgh Steelers legend?
No, Atlanta. She ran for governor, I believe.
Yeah, she doesn't wear a mask in a room full of school kids with masks, that one.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
think of her name and I'll look it up because it's been a very popular conversation very lately in the sphere. Yeah, she ran for governor and lost in a very close race or whatever.
Yeah. Or Senate?
Yeah, she's the Dems' Georgia darling. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, she had a picture. She was in a classroom with a bunch of kids with masks, and she was the only person in the room without a mask. And apparently, like, there was a whole big stink about how, like, she demanded that the kids had masks on, but she wasn't going to wear one.
Then she walks in without one.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then posed for a picture without one. It's like, I mean, I could at least give you a little bit of leeway if it was like, just like a candid shot you weren't expecting to come, that somebody walked by the room and shot a picture through the window and caught you in the room without a mask. But no, it's like you sat down planning to take this picture without a mask on in a room full of masked kids.
I'm not trying to defend her, but it may have been that point of where they were like, okay, we're going to take this picture, take your mask down for a second so we can identify you as being that person.
What the fuck is her name? It's going to drive me crazy now.
Marquita?
No, Marquita Bradshaw ran for senator in the state of Tennessee against Haggerty.
Senator of Tennessee, okay.
Yeah. Like, Ann is in my head.
Was it Bradshaw?
No.
It makes it. It's kind of like sad part of actually getting into politics.
There's too fucking many of them.
Oh, and I mean, you just start getting names mixed up as far as state and federal, local,
right. And it's who's in the news right now for what,
right? As far as if they're running, if they were the incumbent, or if they just happen to make a splash in the news scene because of this or that.
Diane Black.
No. She was governor. She's going to run for governor here again.
Yeah, I think she ran for governor.
24.
Harwell. Harwell, Beavers. Eskind.
Or maybe it's not even Bradshaw.
It's not Bradshaw. I know it's not Bradshaw.
Okay. Stacey Abrams.
There you go. There it is. Stacey Abrams.
Wait a minute. Here? You're
talking
about
Georgia?
No. Sorry,
I'm sorry. I thought it was here.
Yeah, we're talking about Georgia. Stacey Abrams.
Well, that's been something, and somehow we both knew we were talking about the same person, but we were both misquoting it as being the wrong person.
Yeah, she's a senator now, right?
No, she missed.
Yeah.
She lost very close race or whatever, and
yeah, I think she ran for the governor.
There she is.
What does the New York Post say was her response?
In fairness, New York Post is sort of like the fucking TMZ of media. So
A little bit. I would agree.
I'd say she took it off for the photo. Or at least it implies as much. African American read-in day and told the students she would remove her mask so everyone could hear her. Abrams added that she meant to put the mask back on immediately after, but claimed that in the excitement after I finished, because it was so much fun working with those kids, I took a picture and that was a mistake.
So I mean, I haven't found her to be disingenuous the times that she's been in the media. So the quote that you just read off, I mean, it's at least, in my mind, at least 50% believable.
I mean, okay. I mean,
I'm not saying it justifies it. I'm just saying,
right. I don't remember.
I'm a little iffy on it as well. As far as like one side saying is masks aren't necessary, whatever, and then they want to point out the hypocrisy of someone saying like, "Hey, you need to wear a mask," but you weren't wearing it at this point.
Right.
That's about it.
I mean, if it's that important, why are you taking the mask off even just to read so they can hear better? Because I mean, that's been. I mean,
so you're saying get a microphone?
Maybe. I mean, something.
All right.
If that's the.
Just asking.
No, because that is one of the complaints going on here in Knox County with the mask situation is that especially with the younger kids where. Speech is an issue, and
I would say if they're saying it's not necessary, why are you making a point about it yet? Unless you're specifically trying to say, I guess, trying to point out the hypocrisy of it.
Why am I making a point out of it?
No, I guess if they made a big deal about her taking it off in that photo op,
right? I mean, the argument. I think the argument, at least as far as
she's not philosophically consistent, is what the argument is.
Yeah. I mean, that's one. Right, that's one. But I mean, to me, and to put the local spin on it with the local mask mandate for the kids at school and stuff like that, it's like, well, why are the kids in masks all the time? Because you want us to be in masks all the time, but when it's when it's appropriate for your needs, Stacey Abrams, you're going to take your mask off and do your thing. Is it about the mask or not? I think that's I think that's the disingenuous kind of issue at play. It's like, is it about the mask? Is it about the safety or not?
I'll also argue that she did a very good job in Georgia getting the two senators there, or the one senator there elected. Both senators elected. So she's got a larger target on her back.
Right.
And she's is a rising person in the party.
Right. And
she's a minority. All reasons why she needs to be a little more diligent about being philosophically consistent.
Right. I agree.
So I think at the very least she's guilty of not understanding the potential authority that she has, or the potential spotlight that she has on herself.
She has more press attention to her than South Carolina senator. Yeah. Somebody who's actually elected to office.
Maybe not South Carolina, because Lindsey Graham is
I'm sorry. I was in my head I was saying South Dakota, and then out loud I said South Carolina.
Yeah,
like
South Dakota.
Right. The senator from South Dakota has less media attention nationally than she does. And she lost a race.
You don't have to go that far. You could see. I mean, you could go 200 miles north and say she's got more media attention than Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Right.
I mean, she definitely became a national figure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And just in a governor's race.
If it's a fuck up, and that's all it is, and it's not her being philosophically inconsistent, she has to do better than that.
I agree.
Right. Has to.
I agree.
Well, I mean, right now, especially, a lot of the Democratic governors are starting to pull or change course on mask mandate stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to assume that's going into this. So not our local version of that the election that we're looking at, but we have national elections that are going on, statewide elections that are going on this year too. It's hard not to assume that some of those things are related.
Well, I guess what I was trying to say, I agree if that specific article was just trying to point out the hypocrisy.
I think that's.
But I would almost think, if they did it on a journalistic basis, they would think that would imbibe her with. Not imbibe.
I don't know what
would bring her into the fold of, the New York Post or any kind of like right wing media. Like, oh, we'll see. She agrees with not wearing a mask.
I mean, you can do that either way. I mean, either one of those statements is trueable in the sense.
Right.
The thing that's frustrating.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we've got a track record of that among some of the left leadership. Whether it was the Newsom one and was it the French, whatever I can't remember what it was.
French Laundry.
The French Laundry, where they're sitting there having dinner or whatever without a mask, while no restaurants are really allowed to be open and all this kind of shit, and all the mask mandates and stuff going on in California at the time. There's been a number of those stories through the series of, it's like, we're sitting here mandating down X, Y, and Z, but we're not doing.
Yeah.
And that's one way to take it. Or if you're on the right side, it's like, see, you agree with us. You can do it either way. As a right side person, you'd be like, see how see the hypocrisy, or see that they think we're right. I mean, either one's true at the same time.
I could see that. Yeah. Sorry.
I think hypocrisy is the more move, because they're the devil, they're the worst. Anything that makes them look worse is really the play. But
sure,
the frustrating thing for me as a person that is a little more left of center than the average Knox County citizen is. We were always going to have COVID fatigue at some point. The fact that nobody in the Democratic Party has thought that far ahead, like, it was going to happen. Now, whether it happened in 2020 or 2022, nobody really knew when that was going to occur. But at some point, you have to assume that people are just going to get sick of it. They get sick of everything all the time. September the 11th is forgotten. Everything is forgotten eventually, and or you get tired of hearing it or seeing it or celebrating it or whatever. And so, if like you were saying a second ago, Seth, if they're looking to move to masklessness, I'm worried that they've waited too long. Because now it almost looks like it's a political move, right, when if they had done it just a little bit earlier,
right. Right, because the writing's on the wall.
It doesn't look as bad, but now it looks like
right.
You're looking at polling, you're worried about losing.
I mean, and honestly, some of the national podcasts I listen to and stuff like that have been talking about the upcoming demolition of the Democratic majority in the House and Senate. They've been talking about it for a while, for a number of reasons why there's going to be a huge red wave in the federal government.
In fairness, there always is 2 years in.
Absolutely. But historically big this year is what the prediction has been by a couple of different groups. And even some of the ones that are more historically left-friendly. Like, I was watching Meet the Press or whatever a couple of weekends ago, and they were talking about it. It's like, I can't remember what the subject was, but it was literally like, do you think that this is going to contribute to a Republican overtaking of X, Y, and Z? And it's like... But to finish what you were saying on that, it's like, yeah, this was going to happen, and now it's obvious that this is happening because you see the writing on the wall, because everybody else sees the writing on the wall. Everybody that pays attention to what's going on sees that you're going to lose big in the midterms, bigger than average in the midterms, and so now you're trying to change course, because this isn't about anything else other than you're trying to save your political assets.
I understand the spirit of what you're saying. I don't put a lot of stock into the idea that you're going to lose bigger than normal, because nobody expected, no polling anywhere expected Trump to win, period, when he won. So, it's still early. I don't want to, just say, Democrats are going to lose 50 seats in the House and they'll lose 12 seats in the Senate. I'm not trying to say that. I do think that they're going to lose. They're not going to have either house.
Right.
But it's not going to matter anyway, because they're not getting anything passed right now, because West Virginia and what's the other? Arizona is they're not playing ball anyway. So does it matter?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know if it matters. It may matter if there's not a decent federal option outside of Biden in fucking 24. But I don't know if it matters that much right now. Really, I mean, you're not passing anything big anyway.
We're going to flip over to another inconsequential set of people that don't make anything actually happen.
Correct. The only way that would matter at all is if one of the liberal justices die in 23, or if a Republican wins in 24. That's the only those are the only checkpoints to me that matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if no liberal justice dies, it doesn't matter. And if they can find a decent candidate in 24, it also doesn't matter.
I'm curious to see what that 24 is, but
Yeah.
That's one thing they were talking about now. I don't recall his name or the state that he came from, but I think there was a Democratic senator that is, I think he just had a stroke or heart attack. That is technically, I think, incapacitated for this time being. So I don't know how exactly votes go if there's anything that's decided upon while he's technically incapacitated.
Sometimes it depends on who the governor is. Like the governor can do a special election in some states.
Really?
So like if it's determined that this person is
To
not
have
able to do
essentially like a stand-in Senate vote.
Yeah, but like greater than half of the governors in the United States are Republican. Greater than half. It's like you can look it up. There's probably I don't know if I'm guessing there's probably 38, 35 of the 50 states are Republican. So if you do have those issues and it is a Democrat, you're going to get fucked. Potentially, you're more likely to get fucked in that scenario as a Democrat. Or for Democratic ideals. So, I've always found that interesting that there are more Republican governors than there are Democrats.
Right. I don't know, as far as like the Senate process, I don't think they have like a designated stand-in.
It depends on the state. I'm almost positive it depends on the state.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably it would come down to like,
that is an interesting question. Like, I'd be curious to know.
State rules.
You can look it up. I'm almost positive that's the case because I know that there have been times where cabinet positions, like there were people that would have taken cabinet positions in a new presidential. On a new presidential ticket, like in a newly elected president, there would have been cabinet positions that would have been accepted, but that particular person would have swayed the number of votes for that particular party. And the way that state was set up is that could have switched it to the opposite party if that person had left. So as an example, let's say Trump had beaten Biden, but the Senate was still split down the middle. If Lindsey Graham would have been a candidate for a cabinet position in Trump's party, but the governor of South Carolina was a Democrat, Trump may not have done that because if you do that, you may be able to get a Democrat in Lindsey Graham's district, in his seat. Yeah. So.
Wouldn't that come down to a special election?
Right. Well, determined by the
special
government.
Elections only come up when elections happen. You don't do it like it's not like tomorrow. Like we say, hey, special election, and it's next week. It's special election in a non-standard year. So to bring it back to a local set, when we had Sharif and Eric Lutton back in 2020, that was a special election for public defender because 22 this year is the standard year for the public defender's election. So it was a special election because it was outside of standard, but it was still inside the standard election protocol as far as,
So that it would go to the second in command.
No, it's like as AC was saying, it's like depending on the state and depending on the rules that are in play, that's how you replace them for the short term until the special election can be held. But the special election can only be held with other elections. It's not like we can just say, oh well, shit, dude died. We're gonna vote tomorrow for the replacement.
Right. So it's at the federal level, at any particular state, it would go to the next line, which I'm assuming most states I'm assuming most states in most positions have something in place for in case someone or something happens.
I agree that I would assume that something exists, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
But to fill the seat in any sort of permanence until the next official election.
Right. It's usually like you said, like interim. Yeah.
Right. But even if it's a special election, it's still with other elections. It's with the standard cycle. It's just not on its own set of terms.
It wouldn't be a special election unless necessitated by state law or whatever.
Right. But even when it is a special election, it is inside an election that's already happening. Other elections are happening, so it's not like you're going to have one ballot where the state of Tennessee gets to all go vote tomorrow on a new senator because the senator died. It's with other ballots. It's a ballot that's mixed in with other stuff going on.
Well, what's considered a special elections? I know there's times where
that's what I'm saying.
Quote unquote special elections have been called.
Right.
20. Just throwing this out here. 28 Republican governors.
Okay. No, that's what I'm saying. Like when a special election is called, it goes in with an election that's happening. So again, like the Eric
Scheduled.
Lutton, right? Thank you. Yeah,
Scheduled.
right. So a special election is called, and it jumps in with regular scheduled elections.
Okay, so it would go out of it's a scheduled election, but then it would be out of cycle.
Right, so 2019, I don't recall his name, and I apologize, but the public defender in Knox County retired. Governor Lee appoints Eric Lutton to replace him until with a special election called. And so that the guy that retired in 2019 should have served until 22.
Right.
And so Lutton takes the seat in 2019. The special election goes in with everything else that's on the 2020 ballot. Lutton gets the seat on the special election, and now, even though it's an 8-year term, in 22, Lutton's back on the ballot. And so a special election only goes in with scheduled election cycles, but it has to stay within. Other stuff has to be happening on that ballot. It can't be. It's not just a standalone, out of nowhere, one thing only on the ballot. That was the point I was trying to get to.
I guess I've just like randomly heard it in other states. It's like, oh, well, they're doing the special election where it sounds like it's out of cycle compared to
is out of cycle
to what our state's doing or whatever.
But it's just that one seat is out of.
Yeah, temporarily.
That one seat is special, but there's a bunch of other stuff still going on.
Right, temporarily it's out of cycle, and then it picks back up the whatever the next time would have been, even if it was a year later.
Right. So Super Bowl predictions, and we'll call it a show.
I'm down on the hill. I got to take the Rams, man. I want the sportsman's license.
I mean, you think it's going to be a close game? Or you think it's going to be a blowout? I like it to be a close game. This playoff, like this year, like I'm trying to think of it. Like seriously, can you remember a playoff that has said so many last like end of game drives,
just good games,
right? But like I mean, game winning drives, overtimes. Like I can't think that I'm sure somebody smarter has the stats for it, but I can't think of a playoff series that's had this many close games.
So with that
Buffalo,
said,
Kansas City especially.
Yeah. So for me, with that said, I think eventually the law of averages take over, and I think LA covers. I think they're fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that this is this extra week off is what kills the flow of Cincinnati's? I
don't know about all that. I just think
that's one of my things for Green Bay. Green Bay seems to be like they do better in the playoffs when they don't get a bye week.
I don't know. I don't know if I buy into that necessarily. I think eventually all of the really good games have got to stop. Like you can't go the entire playoffs and say fuck. Like almost every single one of the games are good. It would not shock me if LA beats them by 10 plus. It wouldn't surprise me.
See, I wouldn't shock me if the inverse, if you're correct that it's not a good game, but it's like a fucking 6-3, like stupid slow scoring.
Cincinnati's defense isn't that good,
right?
You know what I mean?
I'm saying, but like the law of averages being the other way, instead of it being a blowout game, it's just a really low scoring tight game, and it's just boring.
Well, I mean, if it's 6-3, then that feeds into the playoffs are still close, and I don't think I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I don't think it won't surprise me if the game's over by halftime.
Speaking of what do I want to see? I want to see I want to see a 7-3 final.
So sportsman's license, I'll take LA -3.5.
No. I want to see 7-3 as the final score with
good for you.
LA having a 7.
Good for you. How many points do I have to give you?
I don't know. I'm not putting that kind of money up. I'm cheap. You know that, man. That's the biggest bet I've ever lost. Well, no, 2 bets that are 2 bet. Well, no, yeah,
all of them.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like financially speaking, like you're the only one that talks me into bigger bets than I want to do.
I'm not talking you into anything. You're your own fucking thinking human being.
Right, and I said no, and you're going to continue to try to sell me on it. And
if I said 9.5, would you take it?
You acquiesced to it. You agreed to it.
If I said LA -9.5, would you take it?
Okay.
Sportsman's license.
I'm trying to think of what that would cost me on the book.
You can't come to somebody after the fact
like the other way.
Oh well, I took those odds, but I didn't think those odds were all that great. That's not how that shit works.
Yeah, you took it regardless.
I agree, and I pay my debts eventually.
Right. Don't fucking bitch about it.
I'm with Sam. Like, don't fucking bitch about it. It's not that I'm talking you into it. Like, you decided to take it.
Right, but when I say no, I can't just say no and it's over. It's got to be a continuation of something.
It doesn't have to. You can just keep saying no.
Which is a
no means no. All right.
Apparently not, because I can't just say no and it's over.
No, you're not saying you're not going to bet.
I mean, that 9.5 was interesting. But
yeah, I know I got your attention.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm done now.
What if it's a 10.5?
No, I'm good.
All right.
What's the number going to be?
21.
Come on.
You asked.
You want a sportsman's license?
So you're telling me if I say 19, you're going to say no?
No, 21.
You want to take 19? Is what you're saying?
21's good. Take 21. I'm getting the head shake. You guys can't hear the head shake. You might be able to hear the head shake. It's pretty serious.
That's 7 times the line. 6 times the line.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Because I have zero confidence in the idea. Even at 21, I'm not really super stoked about my chances of winning. I kind of am, but not enough to take it. Last call. Anything else? What do you guys got?
No, I'll think about it.
You think about the 21?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Okay. Sam's got something. I can see it in his face.
I was trying to remember if I had heard anything recently going on in city or statewide.
I've got a local one, but I really don't want to talk about it on air because as much as I'm okay with sounding like an asshole, it's too far for me, so I'm not going to do it.
Gotcha.
Cool.
And it's super local. So anyway, that's the show, guys. Apologize, it's a weird one because of the fucking dog. But Roddy's a member of the show, so we got to deal with what he's got.
We tried.
So we're almost in agreement, everybody. We do what we do. We do our shows. We deal with dogs interrupting by unplugging shit. Go to the website, almostagreement.com, job description sheet, as well as our voter guide. Just check out the voter guide. It's very simple, very straightforward. You go through there, you get links to KGIS, links to Knox County Election Commission, find out where you're supposed to vote, find out what district you're in, who you're allowed to vote for, that kind of shit. And then you can go down and see who the candidates are. You can hear the episodes that I've done with them if I've gotten the chance to. And then you can also hear or get a link to their website or Facebook page or something like that that helps you find them. Go to our Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter. We have an Instagram. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Get us there. Those are all the places that you can do what we do. And help us out. Tell your friends about us. Spread the word. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to keep doing it. Because apparently I'm good with having no money. So that's that. Anyway, we're almost here, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great night, and we'll do it again next week.